All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics are Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the fourth Friday, y'all know it's time for the disciples. So the disciples are going to be up first, and when they come through, they'll introduce themselves. So they will be up first, and then of course the other co-hosts will be joining us shortly. But we have a number of things that are going to go on. Of course, we're going to have the disciples up at 6, and then at 7 we'll have Brother Jamil up, and John explain what the rundown is going to be. Then at 7:15, we'll have an artist come through on academics. We'll have Josie Gonsalves come through at about 7:45. And at 8:15, we'll have JP Sean. So John will go through that. Then, of course, we'll have the hip hop rundown with DJ Rhino. So when John come through, and of course some of the other co-hosts, they'll give you the rundown in more complete detail. Of course, we have Brother Minister Haqq, who is the leader and founder, of course, the disciples. So he's with us, and so we'll get it started and wait for his co-host to come and join. Peace, Brother Haqq. Welcome back. I haven't seen you, as I said, on Sundays, brother.
Peace, Brother Ed. Again, I pray all is well with you and your family, everyone in our listening audience. I pray everyone is doing well, that God is blessing all of us with great health, peace. Again, I'm deeply grateful and highly honored for the privilege and the pleasure to be here once again, Brother Ed, with you and the disciples, everybody in the listening audience. I'm so happy to be back. Once again, my name is Brother Abdul Haqq Muhammad. I'm the student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the Muhammad Mosque of Islam, number 25, which is located here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. And Brother Ed, I don't know if you've been online. I'm pretty sure you have. I've been seeing, flyers, palm cards circulating around, but we are. Oh, there she go. There go Reverend Roundtree, my sister.
Yes.
She
Yes, you
here
see
on
I'm in my
time.
office, right?
Yes,
On a
yes,
Friday
ma'am.
night.
I'm so happy to see you, Reverend Roundtree.
Assalamualaikum. Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad. What's up, my brother?
I'm so happy to see you, Reverend Roundtree. I just was.
I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah,
You have no idea how I've been holding this thing. I need to get this. I told him, I said, while we did waiting on our dear beloved brother, we're gonna have well, first of all, y'all was already in the show. Let me let y'all go ahead and Brother Ed Riley with the number one all
No. You right on time, Reverend Roundtree.
number one political hip hop radio. Back in the hands of our host, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad.
You right on time, Reverend Roundtree. I'll say what I was about to say to Brother Ed for the end. I was just introducing myself. I'm pretty sure that everyone who follows our show have been following our show. I believe this would be our 10th year, Brother Ed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Our 10th year. Of course, we lost our beloved brother and friend, Pastor of the Hood, Pastor Ali. His wife has been with us. We thank God much for her and her presence and her strength. But we lost our brother, Pastor Ali. We lost him, but he's always here with us in memory and spirit. A spirit like that can never be lost. And a man who did that kind of work can never be forgotten. So we thank Pastor Ali, Pastor of the Hood, for all that he's done, all of his parishioners at New Psalmist, and them keeping, up the great work and legacy that our brother laid in the city of Newark. So I was just introducing myself, Reverend Roundtree. You came right on time. But I pass it over to my sister, and you all know her, but
Reverend Louise, Scott-Rountree, council member at large. We're here live, All Politics Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. It is an honor to be here with my brother, the original disciple, with Brother Ed Riley, who made sure that this program was going to happen, because Listen, let me tell you, while you were away, Minister, I took the show on the road.
You did. She did.
I'm gonna tell you something. When you and Lady Balena had other stuff going on, I was like, well, I'm on my way to the men's meeting. I'm on my way to the women's meeting. I'm on my way. And I was actually pulling guests in from wherever I was. If I went somewhere and council president was there, I said, guess what? You're going to be our guest today. I was at University High School doing a program with the girls. I saw the principal in the hallway. I said, guess what? You're going to be our guest today. I mean, it been literally, and I really hope, because it's been 10 years. Is that what did you look at the original date? All you have to do is go back and look at the picture we took on City Hall steps with our dear beloved brother, may his soul rest in peace, Pastor Ali. If we go back and find that original photo, because that's when we were going down to Rutgers doing the events.
Right. That's right. Brother Ed had the vision, by God's grace. God blessed him and anointed him with the vision, and he materialized it and pulled us all in, pulled us all together. And we thank God for his mercy and his grace. And Brother Ed hearing the call and responding to the call that God put on his mind, put on his heart, and that we're here 10 years later. But
now let's go back about 12 years, Minister.
I want to say this if I could. If you remember Reverend Roundtree, it's funny how things work and how God manifests things, because Brother Ed mentioned that he wanted to kind of start taking the show on the road, doing something different. So we were supposed to start doing that at one time or another. I don't know if it was before COVID or a little after COVID. It could have been right before COVID, I believe, Brother Ed, when you said you wanted to start taking the show on the road, doing different things, but it just never happened. So
it happened. It happened organically.
Right. That was
it happened because if I hadn't taken it on the road, wouldn't have been no guests. It'd have been just me. And I was like, oh my God, I know I can talk for a whole hour.
That was one of the plans. That was one of the plans that Brother Ed had, that he wanted to begin to take the show on the road, doing different things, giving it a different look. He was talking about different places, maybe where we can shoot the show, live on set. So that was something that Brother Ed talked about, a vision that he had, and look how God manifested and materialized it. So the Lord heard you, Brother Ed, and he made it happen through circumstances. It happened by God's grace and mercy.
Yep. And we've had some great guests. I've had Charles Boyer. I've had, Larry Hamm is not really, like, that's a regular.
Larry Hamm is like an honorary disciple.
That's an honorary guest on. I've had Council President. I've had Councilman Council. Tonight, we have a young lady, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And my other phone that I'm using does not send a group text. So I sent it to Brother Ed, preferably that he could send out the bio, because I don't want there to be a space in any meeting. I am working on something that I am asking you, Honorable Minister, because I know you're in the process of a building season. And with you being in I'm just going to put it right there I want to make sure that we contribute to that building season. I want my fingerprints somewhere on that building season to say I sold into that. So I'm working on that. I should have whatever I'm going to do this weekend. But Brother David is really advocating for your ministry. I want to advocate for your ministry, and I want to thank God for the relationship. If you remember, Brother Ed, this seed was planted maybe about 12 years ago. It just did not materialize, and we did not move forward. There was a guy named Felipe Luciano.
Yeah, Felipe Luciano.
That was our communications director when I first formed the Newark Interfaith Alliance. And he said to me, are you ever going to do anything with the media regarding the alliance? He said, because faith and community are really important. Do you remember, Minister Abdul Haqq Muhammad, that we did a television show with you, myself, Pastor Pablo, and I think at the time it was Rabbi Rosenbach, who has since fallen a little ill. Yeah. And to give them a sense of what faith and community, because community is faith. That's what we are. We are the community. The people that go to the masjid, the people that go to the church is the community. But how we intertwine and work together. So that's what that was supposed to be about. So since then, Minister, I have started in February a television program, and I don't talk about it because I'm going to start. I don't promote. People say I don't promote me. I believe that you definitely don't exalt yourself. They say don't exalt the preacher, don't exalt the pew. But I have a program on Channel 78 called News and Views, Faith and Community. And I started it because some time ago before I was born, and as I was Junius Williams is aware of a woman named Bernice Bass. I don't know if Ed Riley even knows that name. You should be. I don't know that she had a radio show called News and Views.
Oh yeah.
My godmother came on at 7 a.m. in the morning with Seniors in Action, and she came on at 10 o'clock at night. Brother Malcolm, if I'm not mistaken, Junius Williams will tell you. So she was connected to community on a Muslim, Christian, community, politics, but she was one that would speak truth to power. She was not one that was fearful of saying what she needed to say on the air for people. So if you ever talk to Junius Williams about Bernice Bass, that's the name. They have some of her recordings archived, and they were supposed to go into a museum. I think the museum Junius Williams was involved with on 17th Avenue. So I want to give her credit for the News and Views because that was not my baby. The faith and community is our baby. And I wanted to connect news and views with faith and community. So we all have our different views. So I've done like about 7 tapings, but it wasn't with ministers because I didn't want it to be strictly faith. I think I did one faith during Ramadan. I had Imam Haqq and Aisha Marable on, but I'm going to start back recording because Ed Riley needs to be on that show. Minister Muhammad Zaid needs to be on because the audience is definitely our senior population, but we want to reach larger audiences to get the information out of what's going on. People don't have any idea what's going on with Medicaid. They know if they're involved with the information or with the connected to these spaces in government that's getting it out. But I had the director of the health department come and speak to the clergy last Thursday, about 40 pastors, and some of them did not know that there are requirements now connected to SNAP and Medicaid. And those requirements are connected to SNAP require you to work so many hours unless you have an exemption. And even if you get this exemption, that you still have to be recertified every 6 months. And then they have done. So people don't know that the government is put, and if you don't get this information out, they find out by way of their stuff being cut, or they didn't open their mail, or they over. So I want to do more than just talk about, praise the Lord.
No, I definitely understand, Reverend Roundtree. I think that I know it's in James, and because you're right on it, Reverend Roundtree. I know it's in the book of James where it says, if a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say to them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, but you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what good does it profit them? So, that's spiritual, that's biblical, that's Quranic, that people have needs, right? Seeking ye shall find, asking it shall be open, right? So Jesus said, this day give us, the first thing he said was give us our daily bread. Now I know he said that man can't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God, but he did say give us our daily bread, right? Not our daily spirit. We need the spirit too, but he said give us our daily bread because we are physical beings with a body, right? And we are sustained. We need sustenance. We need food. We need water, right?
Yes, sir.
So, the word is good and we need the word and we eat the word and we live off the word, but the word have to be coupled also with those things that produce warmth and, produce physical sustenance for the body that Almighty God gave us, because it says also in Psalms 139, 13 and 14 that God knitted us together in the wombs of our mothers. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. So he put us together, right? He put our bodies together. He gave us everything that, we have. So you right on it, Reverend Roundtree, because I once heard the minister talk about how spiritual leaders, we try to bring people to God before we satisfy their needs.
Oh,
So that's
and
very
guess what?
important. That's very imperative. And then we gotta bring them to God, but the people have needs, that has to be fulfilled. And if we're not doing that, then we're lacking in our mission. Jesus fed the multitudes, right? With 2 fish and 5 barley loaves. He fed them. Wow, they were hungry. They came, they
Absolutely.
had needs, and he
Absolutely.
fed them, right? And he said, when the disciples was talking to him and they said, Master, when were you, hungry and we did not feed you? Or when were you thirsty and we did not give you drink? And he said, if you have done it unto the least of these, you have done it unto me. So again, what you're saying, Reverend Roundtree, is on it. And I know there's always, opposing views and thoughts.
Of course.
However, the people do have needs, and those needs, have to be met. They have to be met. They must be met. So there has to be a certain level of balance. So what you saying, Reverend Roundtree, you own it 1,000%.
This is our work, Minister. I tell individuals all the time is, people see us at various things. They see us at various events. I've gotten to the point where sometimes when the camera comes around, I really want to get out the way, but I have to get you. I almost reverted back to when I was a child. My mother used to push me out front. She used to make me sing for the graduations, make me, hey, Brother Jonathan, our sergeant at arms to provide.
Hello.
And we're praying for wherever our Lady Balena Ali is this evening. But yeah, my mom used to make me. And as a baby, you don't have no choice. At 5 years old, what you gonna tell your mother? No. At 7, what you gonna say? No. And I enjoyed it until I became a teenager. And then I became a little, believe it or not, I was an introvert for a moment. Always with a personality, but not wanting to be made to do things. Now it's I only want to speak when it's necessary, but sometimes you have to speak even when you don't want to, in certain situations. And where we are in our world today as faith leaders, as Martin Luther King says, that listen, I'm gonna make it real brief. This is what the quote really means. If something happens and you don't open your mouth, don't worry about it after it's over talking about it. Because what's important, if you don't say anything about it when it matters, it does not matter that you say something after the fact. We have a lot of things going on in our communities with our children, with our adults, with our seniors. We have a lot of circumstances that are affecting the future of even the generation to come. And I don't always say that the generation, that children are our future generation. I say they're our now and our next, because we have to prepare them now so they can be next. And we're so busy saying, you're next, who got next? But if you don't prepare them now, then they will not be able to take care of being next. And there's, like, with the faith base, with the government, with education, all of these platforms. I mean, even with the men's meeting that's taking place tonight, they come with an agenda every fourth Friday. The women's meeting tries to come with an agenda once a month. The faith-based community tries to meet. I meet every week, because you know how hard it is to pull anybody together if they haven't talked for 30 days or 40 days or 60 days, especially when you have a very large number. So I make myself available every Thursday at 8:30 on Zoom and once or twice a month at 9 o'clock to be in front of people so that they can tell me what they're doing and I can tell them what I'm doing, so we can come together and help each other get the job done. So, like I said, the men's meeting is happening as we speak. The World Cup is in Newark. My God. The World Cup is coming to Newark, and the Ironbound, if you go down there, just go ahead and park, because you're going to walk the rest of the way after a certain hour of the day. But we are honored to have the World Cup in the city of Newark. We're honored that many people are coming through. A lot of businesses are doing well because the World Cup, many people that own property are doing well because the World Cup is in the area. Newark has so much going on right now. But what's really the business at hand is with Minister Abdul Haq Muhammad, Brother Ed Riley, Brother Jonathan, that we get the message out of what we're doing. Minister Abdul Haq Muhammad has a message that is so profound. I was explaining to someone about the Honorable Minister based on a situation that took place not too long ago. And I said, you know, not for nothing, from a spiritual perspective, that if you hear his messaging on women, there's no way that a brother could not be respectful and be in line with a relationship professionally or spiritually based on the teachings of the Honorable Minister. Now, my dear pastors, I love you all, and I know that your teachings are profound as well. But I think that when we don't do series on a thing, it's kind of hard to speak about something today and then come back 6 months and deal with the same topic. You understand what I'm saying, Minister?
I do. I'm happy you mentioned that, Reverend. I wanna get your thoughts on something, and we got Brother Ed here, Brother Jonathan. So you touched right on it. Two things I want to get your thoughts on, Reverend Roundtree, and one, and Brother Ed and Brother Jonathan. One, first I deal with a national situation or circumstance where the UFC fighter, blurted out his mouth about what he said about Michelle Obama in terms of calling her a man as a man. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Just get your thoughts on what are your thoughts on that. Reverend Roundtree, you first, since you the sister up here, and then Brother Jonathan and Brother Ed, you on. That derogatory mark that he made towards Michelle Obama. We know that this is nothing new, particularly for the Obamas, in terms of them being, called all type of derogatory names. They called them monkeys, all kind of things. We know what just happened with Trump, where the video that the White House made and depicted them as gorillas or apes. So that's nothing new, but this is the latest thing that just happened. And since you were talking about women, that was on my mind to speak about. I thought it was a good segue to get your thoughts on that. Very controversial, of course. Many people got online, reposting Michelle Obama, nice things they said, just showing solidarity and love to her, trying to cover her and shield her from that. I don't know if you all are where you are of that situation, Brother Jonathan, Brother Ed.
Yeah,
I
I think
think it
that
happened a week ago, week and a half ago, something like that, maybe longer.
I think you're right. It's nothing new, right? This is a constant stage of attacks that he's done. But I think one thing that's important to understand, whether we agree with Obama, don't agree with Obama, don't like the policies, remember it fondly, said he done nothing for black people. Now, whatever you think about the Obamas, no, when he attacks them, it's really not about them. It's
No,
about what they symbolize with us.
that's right.
So those attacks are literally just attacks on the black community. He is when he talks about Michelle, he is literally talking about all of us. I mean,
That's
that's the
right.
rhetorical intent of what he's
That's
doing. It's
right.
nothing to do with them in particular. It is all about what they have symbolized and what they mean to many different people, and it's one of the many ways that he takes shots at the black community, right? So and it is blatantly so, because we know that with the various policies, the attacks on civil rights, the attacks on voting rights, the acknowledgement of white supremacists, the only immigration that he wants are white people from South Africa. And that whole white people from South Africa is like, you can't make it up, but
Mm.
it's there, right? It's in your face. So it's part of a larger message that he has that says white nationalism good. We are going to try to get as rich as we individually can, as in him personally and whoever is supporting him personally. Get as rich as you possibly can. Get white poor white people to provide the cover by providing as much inflammatory white supremacist stuff out there that the majority poor white people are just going to support you because they they relate, right? They think it's good. They think that if you're anti-black, then that some extent that means you're looking out for them and you're looking out for what they need. So yeah, I think that those attacks are not attacks on Michelle. They're not attacks on Obama. They are part of a messaging about what he feels about the rest of us, and he backs that up in policy after policy. That's why I can't understand the few black people who still support him. I'm like, how many times do you need to get slapped in the face, spit on, before you recognize what spit is?
Right, yes, sir. I don't know if Reverend Roundtree or
Let me say something. You know, like I do my best to not allow certain outbursts in the city of Newark, state of New Jersey, and nationally, because the outrage and the anger that can build up in you as a result of the disrespect can make you understand why some people go postal. You remember what they used to say about people going postal?
right, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, if you allow and you internalize, and that doesn't mean people are not affected. It does not mean that people are not hurt. I mean, Brother Josh, maybe I shouldn't even call you brother. Truth of the matter is, something is wrong with people who attack individuals, not just because, you know, they're a white supremacist or because they have a problem with intelligent, productive, progressive, beautiful, phenomenal, successful, I mean, black people. Like, you know, not every fighter or not every individual that's with the UFC or the NBA or any of these other organizations really have a intellectual level. I'm really going somewhere that can even match the brilliance of those that they speak against. They just so happen to be black. And that's the real challenge. That's the real threat. You know, I don't know if y'all remember, but I remember them saying Donna Summer. Now, Donna Summer was not the first lady of the United States of America, but there was some rumors going around where an individual has said the same thing about her. I mean, she was just an artist, you know. Why in the world? And they don't realize, the people that are making these statements, that we some of us are a little beyond what you say, because we really, it matters, but if you don't, it matters, but you don't matter enough. And now this woman Dana White is saying it was, you know, it was dismissed and all that. But the truth of the matter is, once it's in the atmosphere, baby, we know who you are. We know what you said. We know you disrespected us. And all we can do is walk by you. Because the truth of the matter is, some people, they might want to do more than just walk by you. Behind that. So I'm just to make a statement like that, because your level of intelligence. Okay, can I just leave it there? Is there a level of intelligence?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there? I mean, is your brain like what's in there? Like what? Like what? Is it just a blob of matter that no thought process has gone into what you're saying about the First Lady of the United States of America? Listen, let me take that back. About anybody, about any black woman or black man that is successful and made their mark. One of the problems with society, and we're not just going to talk about white supremacists. We're not going to do the hello, Lorraine, how are you, sugar? What we're not going to do as allow you to think that you had an impact on us for us to come and take your head off. That part. Now, people will say and defend and do all of that, but you have no clue that people have lost their lives behind making a statement against someone. You don't know how somebody might lose their little bit of mind and come after you. It's only by God's grace that we still have a sitting president. I'm telling you that this country, after January 6th, has told us one thing, that this ain't our country, even though it belongs to us.
Right.
And if you can understand, that's like saying, hurry up and slow down. Okay. Like, I want you to do this quick, fast, but not in a hurry.
Right.
You know, this rhetoric, you know, so what has been said is not the first time, as I think Brother Jonathan stated, this is nothing new to us. We've been called worse. Worse has been done to us. Worse has been said about us. And you can go and I start pulling up names of people, and you start pulling records over the past 100 years or 200 years of leaders that have come. Listen, come on here, George Wallace, you know, that had a come to Jesus moment before he died. I'm just saying, there are people that were in government and leadership. So when you have somebody sitting at the helm, hi Kimberly, what's up, beautiful, that have done this and said these things, the best you can do is say, you know, I hope God have mercy on you, because it ain't over yet, baby. It's not over. I know who I am. I know where I am. I know who I can be. I know who I'm going to be. And you can call me a man, woman, boy, child, toy, gorilla, manila, whatever you want to call me is what I answer to. So you will not affect, and that's, you know, it hurts. Yes, it's disrespectful. Yes, it's wrong. But it'll be even worse if we sitting behind some bars, behind something somebody called us.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know, Brother Ed, I want you to chime in, Brother Ed, if you could, but at the same time, we have an attack on Councilwoman LaMonica
McIver, I was going to bring that up.
They are coming after relentlessly, viciously, you know, the President of the United States and all of those who are with him, trying to, you know, imprison our sister for a very long time. So as we're talking about what's being spewed and said in reference to Michelle Obama, we see, you know, simultaneously this happened. She's one of our own, you know, directly from North, right? And we see the attack on her and the attack on Black women in general. You know, so I just wanted to add that in there also, Reverend Roundtree. I don't know if you want to, you know, make a statement or comment on that, Brother Ed, in terms of what was said about Michelle Obama specifically. And again, we've seen Trump maybe a month or so ago, White House released a video. They said it was a mistake where the, you know, the Obamas were depicted as monkeys. You know, it was a mistake. I didn't know. And again, this is not the first time, even before Trump.
Baby, they had the noose around his neck.
Right.
And I mean, so we like, and those are dangerous things to do. And when you start talking about Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, that is my sister for real. I mean, you can pick your family, and you know, you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. And in spite of that, I will never be upset about who your friend is. That's your business. I will never get upset about who you support. That's your God-given right. I will never get upset about who you stand with, because God gave us all individual fingerprints, so we're all different. What's happening to my sister, in spite of how they feel she responded, is wrong, dead wrong. Because if you look at January 6th, as I stated earlier, and they pardoned half of those people that either ended up dead or in jail, again, it is sad that we in a country that picks and chooses. But this is where we are, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are. This is where we are. We can complain about it, talk about it, but if those, November, we have an opportunity to flip some stuff. But at the end of the day, and the beginning of every morning, when we rise, we know what we not sure what we might be facing, but we know who we're facing it with and what we're dealing with. And this isn't just happening in America. This whole world is in an uproar behind the leadership. And some people agree that it's good leadership. So I'm wondering who they are. And those who know that there are requirements. My mother always felt, and I guess it's been backstage for 15 minutes, but my mother always felt that you got to stand on your own two legs that you have, no matter what's going on in your life. That if you can walk through it. Sometimes it seems difficult, sometimes it seems hard, but I believe God for Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, who is with child, that no matter what is going on right now, if it was Minister Abdul Haq Muhammad and I was in that space and somebody came and grabbed you or my son or my brother or my sister, even a sister that might not consider me a sister, I probably would respond the same way, trying to say, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, you don't know how you're going to respond in a protective manner. It might not be logical. It might not make sense to some people, but you don't know how you're going to respond until that moment hits you.
And I would go further and say that she responded correctly because they were knocking her down. They were knocking other people down.
You gotta
The
look
only
at
thing
this
she
man.
did was purely defensive, right? Like it was.
There was an 80-year-old woman in the middle
understand.
of it.
Like I don't even want to give any type of credibility to what the Justice Department is charging. We know
Absolutely.
why they're charging her.
Absolutely.
We know this is in the same spirit as COINTELPRO,
Absolutely.
where if they get a conviction, it's a bonus, right? But because they're putting her through this, that is the cost. They were doing this with Black Panther. This is like the FBI documents. There's a great book called Agents of Oppression
Yes.
by Churchill and Vanderby. They basically took a lot of FBI documents that have been redacted and they published them. And they published them with what happened with COINTELPRO, right? Like a lot of the FBI documents that dealt with COINTELPRO from the points. I remember when I first read it, I was astounded by looking at like, oh my goodness, they were arresting people not because they thought they would get a conviction. If they got a conviction because of a racist system, that's extra. They were arresting people to cost them in resources. They were arresting people to cause them psychological damage, right?
Right.
So so we look at what happened.
Well, let me say this, Brother
first.
Jonathan. I'll make you break your thought because our guest is in the back. But what I do want to say, life and death lie in the power of the tongue. And all that you're saying, we know, is a fact. But what I will not put into the atmosphere is what is going to happen to her. Because I want to speak life, that no matter what they're trying to do against her, that it will not happen. That injustice, I don't care how many trials how many courts she have to go and sit in, that I see victory at the end of this. And I got to speak that, because if I concern myself with what they're trying to do, that will overpower my concern and my worry about what they want to do could happen. So I'm going to continue to speak like you do injustice. I'm going to continue to speak that she's going to come through this. Yeah. I'm going to continue to speak that whatever they're trying to do, the weapon that they're trying to form against her will not prosper. And I'm going to continue. And that's what we have to do. We can speak they're doing wrong. We can say that all day long, but you don't, if the dog bites you, you don't have to say, dog, you bit me. The dog know he bit you.
But we need to be able to call a dog a dog. And I think
I'm just saying, dogs got sense too, baby. Okay.
And call it a dog.
That's right. Dogs have sense too. You can mess around here and think that just because the dog don't talk, they don't. But if he bites you, listen, 6-month-old babies know the difference in right and wrong. 1-year-olds walking, when you tell them yes and no, they know what they're doing. They know it's wrong. They know that injustice is being done. And just like they would forgive or excuse or whatever they plan to do with individuals that have broken laws after law. Hell, we got a man sitting in the White House that's been convicted 34. Come on. We're not going to talk about that. Let me just pray for my sister. We got Ronnie's Bruce on, and we got some announcements I know the minister wants to make. And I don't know if Ed has anything, but a great producer. But I do, since we brought on a guest, She might want to chime in, but I do want to introduce her because she's been waiting, Brother Jonathan, to come
All right,
on. And
so
since we,
she's actually not connected. So Rennie Price, if you can hear me, your device is not
she said
connected,
she was in
and
the
can you?
backstage.
She's actually not connected. We can't even put her on.
She
So
probably
if she
got a
can
she got
sign
probably
off
got a log.
and sign back on,
Right.
if she can hear us, if she can sign off and sign back on, we'd appreciate
So,
that so that she can come back in.
Thank you, sister. And I understand definitely Reverend Roundtree says speak of those things that are not as if they are, as if they are. You know, so much has happened to us, as you said, Brother Jonathan, and Reverend Roundtree, to us in this country as a people for a very, very, very long time. We have been afflicted, we have been oppressed, and that affliction and that oppression has only brought the best out of us. Trial and tribulation, suffering, it has brought the best out of us. It has shown our God given resilience, our God given strength. And in the midst of all that we have suffered as a people, we've never forsaken God like Job. We've never just cursed God and said, we want to die. No, we've stood up, and the trials and the tribulations and the affliction that we have suffered has been some of the ingredients or the incubator to produce some of the greatest minds and leaders that this world has ever seen. And as Reverend Roundtree said, the scripture says, if God be for us, who can be against us? Well, there's many that have come against us, Brother Jonathan. They're going to continue to come against us. But I believe in the biblical principle said, as thou hast done, so shall it be done unto thee. And he who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. And all that we see them trying to do and using policy and using law and using the injustice department to do their bidding. There's a scripture, Brother Jonathan and Brother Edward Roundtree, that the Black Muhammad gave us in the book of Psalms. In the 94th chapter, the 20th verse, it says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So they've always used the law to create mischief and to frame mischief and to create mischief among us as a people, because that is what they had. That is their modus operandi, their routine practice, to use policy, to use law, to use various schemes and tricks to try to arrest us, to try to keep us
my Lord.
down. But God has always been with us. And it says in the book of Psalms, in the 23rd chapter, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Shadow of death. Fear
See,
no evil.
it says, as I walk through, and we
Yes.
got to stand, you can't Uber through, you
Nope.
can't lift through.
Nope.
No, you got to walk through. So
Walk through.
Jesus said, pick up your bed and walk. So even when you are sick and even when you are down, you still have to get up. So as we walk through, not be carried through, but even though it's dark, even though it's death all around us, we still have to get up and we still have to walk. And that's what we have done. And that's what we will continue to do by God's grace.
I would just want to jump in with this also on this really important case. I think the case with LaMonica McIver, our Congresswoman, is probably one of the most important ones in the country right now. I think that when we as Black people within our communities, when our politicians appoint people in positions, right? Like when we appoint judges, when we appoint people to represent us, we need to make sure that they also reflect our community understanding of what justice is. Because that didn't happen
Yes.
in this case, right? That did happen in this case. It is not enough, and I think this is something that we really need to submit in all of us.
That's right.
For whether you are the mayor, the senators, right? The people who represent us are going to be able to appoint people who look like us to positions of power. It is not enough to look like us. You have to share our sense of justice, right? Like the way in which they see justice needs to be similar, needs to be informed by the way our community sees justice. Because that didn't happen in LaMonica's case, right? That, and again, this is not disparaging. This is the way things work. This is really a political question. When we start using our political voice, our collective political voice and political power to get behind a judge for an appointment, that is not just to help their individual career path. That is not just to give them as individuals power. And we really have to understand that. as Black people ourselves, right? As Black and brown people, we need to understand that when we do these things, we do this so that our communities will really have a voice in the way justice happens. Now, that didn't happen in this case, and I think we need to ask ourselves questions about why and how do we better vet the people that we appoint to truly represent the perspective of our community. Because this case shouldn't have gotten past that the first judge who was just like, no, it should have been thrown out. I think if it reflected the community, it would have been thrown out. So that's one of the things I just want to add to this, right? Part of the drama is how when we appoint people, like as we're all like many people are going to have a say, like the mayor has a say, our senate people have a say, our council people have a say, right? And who gets appointed to various positions of power. We need to be very clear that when we give a nod for people to be appointed to positions of power, it is not for their individual career advancement. It is not enough to have a Black face in a high place. They have to represent the justice, the perspective of our
Woo!
community.
That's right. You right on it, brother. You right on it, my
That
brother.
part right there. Minister was talking to a pastor, tell him about Zaid.
Brother
What's up,
Zaid, my
East
brother, right
family?
on time.
Good to see you, Abdul Haqq Muhammad. I've been worried about you, young man.
Oh, I knew where he was. He was
I'm
ministering.
Yeah, but
thankful
I
that you
can't put
worried
my
about
eyes
me,
on him. I'm
brother.
like, what's up?
Listen,
I'm so happy to see you, brother. You came right on time during
Brother
this discussion.
Jonathan.
Yeah, he
Perfect
got
timing.
his daughter. Yeah.
So
You
good. I
said,
mean, brother Jonathan, you was speaking truth to power,
yes,
my brother, in terms of
yes.
our representation and how we have to do a better job and a more thorough job of vetting those that come to get our vote, that stand before us, but I do believe, I know that the scriptures say that Satan transformed himself into an angel of light.
You hear me?
And my teacher taught me that we all can turn devil overnight. So we know that those that have traditionally oppressed us, they're always seeking to turn those that would be our representatives, those that would stand up for us. So it takes a certain level of strength, it takes a certain level of character, it takes a certain level of integrity for those that will represent us to be able to stand on truth. Because we need leaders that are for the people and not those who are bought and paid for, not those who can be bought and paid for. So we have to look at their pedagogy. We have to look at what they were doing before they got into that position. Were they in the community? Were they in the street? What is their resume? So we
Right.
definitely have to do a better job, a more thorough job in vetting and investigating and looking into those that come to stand before us and say that they are for us. Because when they get in the positions, even though they may have a revolutionary mind or revolutionary thought, my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, said that the power is not necessarily the seat, but it's those that are around the seat. And it's those that are around the seat are always trying to turn and twist the mind and the heart of those who sit in the seat. So they have to have a certain level of strength and they have to have a certain level of courage and fearlessness that they're not seeking to save their life, but if they seek to lose their life, they'll gain more abundant life. So, you're definitely on it, Brother Jonathan, in terms of the type of representation that we have to have because, you know, those who have oppressed us and those who have done all that they can do to stop our forward progress and motion, they have not stopped. They're working night and day. They're working tirelessly. Even if we can't see them, even if we don't know all that they're doing, we have to know that they are doing something to trip us up. You understand? To turn us one against the other, to crucify our leadership and those that would stand before us. And I think that's what you're seeing with Councilwoman LaMonica MacGyver, because they've always sought to put fear in others who would stand up
That's
and who would
right.
fight back. So they're trying to make an example out of our
Right.
sisters. They tried to make an example out of our mayor. They tried to make an example out of so many others. We know what they did to Dr. King and Medgar Evers and countless other leaders, Malcolm X, the Honorable. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Marcus Garvey, they've done so much to Black leadership so that we would not have strong Black leadership, because one of the aims and objectives of this particular government was to make sure that black people are never effectively organized, or that we would never have an effective organizer. So they go by that old model that says, smite the head of the shepherd and the sheep will scatter, so you're on it, brother Jonathan, in terms of, what we as a community have to do a better job at when it comes to our leadership.
And to that point, Minister and Brother Jonathan, so it's amazing that in last night in Bible study, in between going to all my events, one of the conversations that Pastor Sanders spoke about was that we're kind of, I don't want to say leadership, individuals in leadership can be selfish. It becomes, it maybe, I don't want to say it's intentional. Oh, she's not able to get in. She says she's having issues because browser has blocked her some kind of way from getting in again. We love you too, Kimberly. But the truth is, people they become selfish.
She's
it's
she's backstage, but she literally can't. It says device is not connected. So
yes,
I see her, but it's just
she's
not
saying that it's blocked her mic or something. I told her, I don't know, to come out and come back in.
She should use a different web browser. Tell her to use Chrome if she has it, or tell her to use a different web browser.
So with that being said, hold on. With that being said, in politics or in ministry, which both of them are ministry to me, leadership is never personal. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Like, it's always about the larger audience, the larger body. It cannot be about how I feel for me. It has to be about how we're going to take care of each other through my leadership, or through the leadership that God has positioned me in, or through the assignments that I have, that God has given me. He didn't give it to me for me. He gave it to me to make a difference for the people at large. And I don't know whether power has a way of affecting individuals, but once they get there, they lose sight. The pastor was saying last night, you get so excited about what you're feeling, you think everybody's supposed to feel like you. Well, no, that's not quite how we want folks to feel like us. We want folks to be excited about making a move and standing for justice and standing out there in front of the federal building on Mondays with Larry Ham and going out with our brother Baba Zaid when he's standing in the middle of Market Street and bringing the awareness. We want people to do that. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's what Baba wants. He wants to see everybody feel the passion that he feels. Well, that's like trying to talk to people and get them to come to God that don't know nothing about God. Like, if I don't know you and you haven't made a difference, as Sid is with us, my niece is with us. If I don't know and never had an experience, how can I tell Brother Jonathan to feel a certain way about something he's never had an encounter with? Well, that's where we are as leaders.
I just want to say, I know we only have 5 minutes left, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Maybe we can borrow another 5 since she had a little area, because it's going to take me 2 minutes to introduce her, my dear beloved brother Jonathan. So let me go ahead and introduce our beautiful guest that has joined us. Ronnie and Bruce is the executive director of the Newark Lions Partnership Incorporated, also known as the Newark Southward Special Improvement District. Founded in 2014 by then South Ward Councilman and now Mayor Raz Baraka. Ms. Bruce is the organization's first executive director and the state of New Jersey's first Black female special improvement director, with more than 375 properties and an assortment of houses of worship, small family-owned businesses, residential housing, a storefront, strong middle class, and some urban life. Ms. Bruce's primary role is to improve the area, create an inviting image, attract new businesses, retain current businesses, and increase property values. Now, I can go on and on about all. She's worked for the major health organizations such as RWJ. She is a whole list of things you can find on All Politics and Locals site. If you go to their Facebook, they put her information there. But she's a proud alumni of Howard University, Rutgers University, Cook College, and Edward Bloustein School of Urban Planning and Keller School of Management. She also is a mother of wonderful children. And we're going to
You guys hear me?
Miss, yes, ma'am, Miss Ronnie
You can hear me?
in your hand. Yes, we hear you.
Okay, I can't hear everybody. I don't know what happened now. Uh-oh. Wait.
We can hear you well.
Hello, say something.
Can you hear us?
If we can hear you, sister.
We can hear you very well.
Can you hear us? She done had all kinds. Well, that's who our guest was today. And I gather that I'm going to start making sure that, because she is an amazing woman, and I wanted to bring her on just for a couple of minutes so that we could actually. Can you hear us now?
Okay, I can hear everyone now.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so
Yay! All these technical difficulties. I appreciate all of you. Peace and blessings to everyone. Thank you so much, Reverend Roundtree.
Did you get to hear your introduction?
I heard my introduction. That was long-winded, just to say I am thankful and blessed and highly favored and walking in God's grace every day. That's all I get to say. I get to work in the city that I love, that I grew up in, and to do all the work that I get to do in the special place that I love more than any place else in this world. I'm trying to tell somebody. So
my niece,
Reverend Roundtree, exactly what did you want me to speak on? Because there was so many things going on. We talking about
I only have an hour, and I don't want Jonathan, but what I do want you to do, what I do want you to do, is Brother Ed is our producer, Brother Jonathan is our sergeant at arms / assistant producer for Mobilization, and Baba Zaid. So we have this collective called the Disciples. And I actually, because I didn't want us to not have a guest on tonight, asked you to be on because I wanted to showcase a woman who was another first in the city of Newark doing a job that many people are not even familiar with, special improvement districts. Some people don't even know what a special improvement district are. They don't even know, hey, Lorraine, they don't even know that they can, and you're welcome, sweetheart. They have no clue what a special improvement district is. I'm going to bring on the director of the health department so we can deal with SNAP. I might even bring on the West Ward people. But just talk a couple of minutes about who you are, what you do, and hire Elliot, and then we're going to have to do our announcements and close and bring you back for our next show.
Thank you so much. So really quickly, I kind of stumbled into this role. My background is in public health, urban planning, and I used to raise money for hospitals and universities. And then when the mayor became the mayor, I did workforce development. I was chief of staff for the health department. And then I was moving without the city, and this role became available. To be quite honest, I didn't know what a bid was, had never heard of it. But it's pretty much, as you see, beautification, downtown, whatever town you live in, they do events that attract people to come. But because I also have a mixed use property next to a house, I'm considered a special improvement district because I got to take care of everyone. So our primary role, of course, being in the South Ward, there are 5 bids in the city of Newark, minus the South. We have Partnership West, we have the downtown district, we have the I-bid district, which is the Ironbound section. And then we have North Ward and Lower Broadway, which makes me unique. 1, I can tell you I'm the only one that's an actual native Newarker. 2, I'm the only female. But 3, because I'm so vested in the city of Newark, that I look to do more things. I'm only in charge of technically 3 corridors, but I'm the South Ward. I take that and I run with it in every capacity. I serve as a liaison between people that want to open up businesses in the city. So if there's ordinances that need to be adhered to, if there's code enforcement that needs to be involved, certificate of occupancies and how people navigate to open a business, I'm the resource for that. We have facade improvement programs, business improvement grants that they can get, small business grants. I'm the go-to shop for a lot of things. and a lot of people. And I think the uniqueness about, again, what I get to do is my board is comprised of actual stakeholders. So they're people that live on my corridor, work on my corridor, own on my corridor, or do business. The hospital, Beth Israel Hospital is my stakeholder, Wells Fargo Bank, Industrial Bank, the only Black bank in the city of Newark. Level One Bakery, Black owned business. Coombs CPA, he's a Black owned accounting firm. So I'm looking to make the South Ward Black Wall Street. I'm not excluding anybody, but I do have a preference. And I focus on areas. My primary pillar is I talk about gentrification. Everybody talks about gentrification, I call it. Everyone talks about gentrification and how the city will change when other people come. I said, I'm looking to have generations come. I went to University High School right in Newark. And the first thing they always told us was get your education and leave. I did that. I went to Howell University. I used to live in Montclair. I used to live in West Orange. And I used to live out in Warren County, Ku Klux Klanville. I had people that literally had Christian Brotherhood meetings right around the corner from me. And I can tell you, to be able to come back and talk to kids and ask them, who told you were poor? Who told you there was something wrong with you? Who taught you to hate yourself? Who told you all these things? I get to rewrite the narrative that is taking place in the South Ward. When they say it's about crime, I can tell you that we are not poor in the South Ward. To know that I love lovely Black people that can afford everything else that everybody else can. So I'm open to come back. I'm open to answer questions. I'm open to do all those things. I'm welcome for you guys
We
to come and do
actually
a tour.
we actually want you to come back. Is there a way you could come
Okay.
back next week? We want you to
Yes.
come back early because there's
I
no
can't
way
hear
you're
you,
going to be
Brother
able to talk
Jonathan.
about.
Can y'all hear Brother Jonathan?
Can you hear me, Rennies? Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Jonathan. Yes.
Okay. So we want you to come back next week, and we'll send you a time. Probably or
Come on.
it will be around 7:45, so that
Okay.
we can have a much
Oh,
more extensive
so
conversation
now
with you.
you're going to take my guest and have a whole nother
Yes.
show. You
Uh-huh.
got Jonathan
That's right.
Austin.
And she
Listen,
gonna be on time for
she was a
the
guest. She
technology is
was
gonna
on
work.
time tonight. She
I
was
mean,
I
backstage.
was on
the
time.
tech's gonna work.
Jonathan, I
Y'all
heard the
didn't
whole
see it. You
conversation.
You're
wasn't
right.
on time
You're right.
tonight. Don't come for me.
I was not.
Jonathan, I heard
You came in
everything
here
you were
late while
talking
she
about.
was
When
waiting.
y'all started talking about Michelle Obama, I was like, oh, right. When you
I
started
wanted her to come
when
in, but
Reverend
then she
Roundtree,
was.
I heard everything. I was just in the backstage. I can tell
Oh,
you
I
that
know.
it's
I saw. Actually, I saw you in the backstage. You were here. You were here
okay.
like from
I can't hear
6:15
Brother
on.
Jonathan.
So,
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear
yeah, I
you.
think. I think
Oh, I'm
Abdul.
sorry,
I think if you
Sister
go back,
Ronice.
go
I'm
out
so
and come in,
inspired by your
you'll be able to
story.
hear us.
I just see Brother
Well, I
Jonathan
welcome
mouth
I
moving.
welcome the opportunity. Like I said, right now I have 14 parcels that are available. So if you guys know a good business that wants to open in the South Ward of Newark, I got 14 parcels on Bergen and Clinton, between Bergen and Clinton Avenue. I need good business. I don't need another bodega. I
We
need
would
good
we would be
business.
really honored.
No
We would
liquor
be absolutely
stores.
honored
Yes,
to have
ma'am,
you
Sister
back
Ronice. So
next week,
I see
we can have.
Jonathan mouth moving and keep saying something. I don't know, Jonathan. I can't
Yeah,
hear you for some reason.
it's right
Well,
now.
Sister
You can't hear me,
Ronice,
but other
that's
people
our
can.
time. But definitely, Reverend Roundtree, we can have her come back next. Our next show. Our sister is excellent, very inspirational, and we appreciate her hard
So
work
we're
and
going
her
to give it to you
But
for
dedication
I
in her
15
but I
community.
minutes
will.
next week. And then
Right.
in
But
July.
I would
Yes,
give you.
yes, yes,
And I
ma'am. If
would
we can
give
have
you.
Sister Ronice come back and maybe some of the viewers can ask her questions to get
Well,
some clarity
I
in
could even
terms
do
of,
that. I'm just
how
saying I can
to
even do
apply
that
for
next
those
week.
What you
parcels.
want?
Jonathan, he
Invite
I
us
can't
to
can
be
hear
a
have.
guest
you.
on your show next week?
Jonathan, we
Yeah,
can't hear
I
you,
can.
brother. I'm sorry.
He's
We
trying.
can hear. We can hear him. You
You
can't
can't
hear him.
hear.
Oh,
You
I'm
can't
sorry.
hear
I
me.
can't hear
It's
Jonathan.
just you.
Well, that's my time.
Let
I
him
know
know.
we
Let him
over.
know. He can't
So,
hear
Reverend
me.
Roundtree, I'm sorry, Brother Jonathan. I can't hear what you're saying. And Reverend Roundtree,
Yeah.
got any closing announcements? I don't know, Brother Ed, but thank you so much, Sister Ronice. We look forward to hearing
God
from you
bless
and
him.
seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Reverend Roundtree and Jonathan, I'm going to drop. You see me keep shaking my head. I have a graduation. I'm a team mom for a football team, and the team mom for. So I have graduation parties that's starting to happen in a little bit, and they're like, "Can you come on?" So I appreciate. I got to go help finish setting up. I thank
Thank
Well,
everybody.
you.
Thank everyone.
thank you. And I'm really
Thank
impressed
you.
by the stuff that you
That
do.
was a tease.
And we
That was a
really
tease.
definitely want to have
All
you on.
right. I'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a
Love
good
you,
weekend.
Ronnie.
Love you
Yes,
too,
ma'am.
Reverend
Thank
Rountree.
you
I
so much, Ms.
appreciate you.
Lorraine. So,
Yes,
Reverend
ma'am.
Rountree, I can't hear nothing you saying, Brother Jonathan. I just want to thank everybody for their support, for their love, their dedication. Thank you, Brother Jonathan, Brother Zaid, Brother Ed, Reverend Rountree. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, Reverend Rountree,
Yes.
I got to find the time, but we're going to be having a clothing, I don't know, food giveaway right in front of 425 Central Avenue, our new location. I believe Councilwoman Amina Bay will be there. She has donated and contributed some of the items that we'll be giving out to the community. So I just don't know what time it is. I apologize, Roundtree. Maybe 12, 1. I don't know. It's 11, 12, or 1. I don't know.
I'll call Sister Mina and find out.
Yeah, I don't know the time. Sorry,
All
Brother
right, but
Zaid.
we have our
That's
next
right. I'll
guest
call Sister
in the
Mina and find
background.
It'll
out.
be tomorrow at 425 Central Avenue. I don't know the time. I don't see the flyer, but that'll be tomorrow. So thank you all. Love you, Brother
Thank
Ed,
you.
Brother Jonathan, Brother Zaid, and Reverend
And
Roundtree.
tell
Love you so
and
much.
tell
And congratulations, Reverend Roundtree. I seen that wonderful, wonderful program that you had at the mansion. It was beautiful. I've seen, it was so beautiful.
So
and
next
tell
year
Minister
you gotta
Muhammad
come.
it's good to
You
see him
gotta
again.
come and give me somebody from Mars 25.
No, I gotta come there. I gotta
All right, but we
come.
also got to
I
move
know
on to our next
that Brother
show.
David.
Why don't we
Okay,
do
I'm
Come
a
on,
sorry.
show
Zai, jump
there?
in. He
Yeah,
can't
we
hear
need
me.
to. I think we should do that, Brother Ed. Let's do that next. Let's do that
Ed,
next
come on, man.
month.
Yes.
We got it.
I see Jonathan talking. I know what he's saying. All right, may God bless us.
Let's do a remote show from there.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Let's do it.
All right,
Absolutely.
let's do it. Next show.
The next show is
Next
from
show,
the
July, we'll do it.
Okay.
The Scott Mansion. Perfect.
Okay, yes, ma'am. God willing.
Look at Bobbers. He's still used.
Oh, and I know that I know I'm rushing you off and all, but
No, give me 2
Councilwoman,
seconds. Two
but Councilwoman,
seconds.
okay,
Yes.
but I wanted to say something. Like, I am very proud of the way that you handled yourself with protesters and what you were doing down at Delaney Hall. I think that when I saw those videos of what you were trying to do and how certain liberal white people sometimes need to shut up and sit down
Oh, they
and
came and
listen.
apologized after the cameras
And
left.
oh, they did apologize.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you. So I went down there to help with a safe passage from Delaney Hall to another location for them to peacefully protest. No problem. I walked all the way from Delaney Hall to Passaic Valley. No incident. Someone said, "When are you going to pray?" Because we know you're a reverend. As soon as I pulled the police over to pray, I asked the cameras, if you saw the video, please, cameras, get away, because I knew the cameras was going to give these people more opportunity to start saying things that were not so nice. However, when I was standing there, I started to respond a few times. Then I'm going to tell you a spirit of God spoke in my ear and said, "Don't move and don't say another word. Just look at them." And I looked at them and I felt like I had a shield around me, so I wasn't worried about them hurting me or hitting me. I was supposed to take some clergy with me. I took 2, a Latino and a clear person, because the truth wasn't none of us really down there. So I took some folk that, and they were with me, and one of them did eventually pray. But I'm going to tell you something. When I stood there, I was like, I'm good. I got a phone call saying you need to move from my piece. Somebody was watching it. They was like, "Get out of there. Get out of there." I said, "I'm good," and hung up. Even a couple of officials came and was waiting. I said, "I'm good. Please just leave me alone." Because I felt that even though they were disrespecting me, this is who I was. Now, I don't know if the Bible would have done that, and some other brothers, if I went with other folk, would have been able to stand in that space and see that and not respond differently. I said, I'm good. And I was not going to disrespect them folk by turning my back to them while I was already in their face. So I stood there and let them do that. And then when I went to walk away after the cameras, 2 of them, the 2 that was the most loudest, came to me and apologized. But a week later, I went down with 30 pastors. And I don't know if y'all saw that. I got off a plane and met them and went down there, and I didn't know what they were going to do. Because the truth of the matter is, Jonathan, half of those people weren't here Some of it, I don't know where their heart is. Only God knows where your heart is. But the truth is, if you're really fighting for justice for individuals, that ain't quite how it go.
And this was my fault because I did instigate that last one, but I know we have our guest on who is here,
Hello,
and
Brother
our time is very
Jalil.
short.
Listen, I got to make this announcement. If you don't mind, Brother Jalil and Brother Ed and Brothers Bob and Jonathan, we know our men's meeting is taking place as I speak tonight. The Women's Career Day. We were doing a women's job fair on June 30th. I want everyone to know that it's been postponed until July. But that same day at 7, the First Lady, myself, and Sister Amina Bey, at 6 to 7:30, will be hosting our monthly women's meeting. We'll be talking about ADUs and other information that we want our women to come out and get. Of course, Brother David Muhammad's daughter, along with myself, Angels of Evolution, Councilman Council, and some other sponsors are sponsoring the main stage. It's a hair competition and fashion show, which will be held at the Kruger Scott Mansion on July 11th. I want to thank everyone that has supported me through this election. I want to thank everyone that supported me on this journey of serving the public. None of us are perfect people. We're all on a mission to do what we can to assist. But I want the disciples, and all politics are local, this platform to be an informative platform, information that will help people, not just talk about our views of how we think about what took place, but how can we help people that are in a space and in a place get better services, get better understanding, get better things that are to assist in improving their quality of life. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. They do call that insanity, I believe, Brother Jonathan. So what we want to start doing now is giving people stuff that they can walk away with tangible. So I thank you, Brother Ed. I thank you, Brother Jonathan. I thank those who have tuned in. Continue to hold us accountable as elected officials. But as a woman of God, I'm accountable to more than just you. I'm accountable to God first. And for that, I'm going to close and say God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for joining All Politics Are Local. All Politics Are Local. America's number one. You want me to finish? Political hip hop radio talk show. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you soon.
See you soon, Roundtree. Love you.
Love you much.
July 4th. Okay, I got it.
Uh, all right, Zaid, it's on you. Give us that wonderful introduction.
Mic check, yeah, because we got to hijack some time back. Jonathan done got liberal over here.
Yeah. And Jonathan blame everybody else.
That's right. He done got all liberal and whatnot.
Hey man,
you got to get it in. We got a loaded show. It's good to see Abdul Haqq back.
Man, I was asking for help. You talking that right trash now, right? You talking now. I said help. What'd you say? Silence. What'd you say? Silence. Yes. Wow, Zaid. After the session's over, you're like, yo, yeah, well, I don't know why you're taking so long. What?
Jalil Muntiqim has returned. Somebody who's huge to those of us who are 10 toes down in this thing called the Black Liberation Movement. All due respect to Black Lives Matter. That's the real BLM, right? Within the tradition of the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army, Republic of New Africa, all those grand traditions of struggle where we take the question of self-determination cold serious. Jalil Muntiqim has come. Brave brother who paid a supreme price for his commitment, 49 years of captivity in the New York State prison system for his commitment, and come out on fire. Right back in the work, true to his character, true to his principles, and true to what's going on. Somebody got some baby drama going on in the background. I don't know where that's coming from. But anyway, Will, welcome back, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me say Hotep, free land, Hotep, Shalom, Harin, Haping, Hafadea, Gutta, Alafia, whatever your native language, I wish you peace and solidarity. Pause, peace, all that good stuff. Peace and solidarity. It's good to be here. What you said, comrade?
I said, you know more greetings than I do by far.
Well, I'm trying to learn a few more. You know what I mean? You know, if they have an individual like the Pope who can speak all kinds of different languages, you know what I'm saying? At least we, black folks, can speak to the world, right, for what we have suffered, what we have gone through in all the languages. You know, as you well know, we are miscegenated with what, 6 different nationalities, different ethnic groups. You know, we miscegenated with the Portuguese, with the Dutch, with the English, with the Spanish, right? With the Seminoles, with the Creek, with the Cherokee. We have a mixture of the Mandingos, Mandinkas, the Fons, the Yorubas, the Igbos, you name them, from the west coast of Africa. We have messaging all these nationalities into this genetic bloodstream here. So y'all going right. Yeah, we should be able to speak to the world about the issues that confronts us. And so that's what we're doing. That's how I'm bringing it. I'm bringing it to the world, right? We have a voice for the world, and we should be able to articulate our issues so that the world can hear us. I mean,
indeed, alhamdulillah. Now you don't know this, but I'm going to use this to kind of just come right to the point for what we're going to talk about, right? When you were with us last, we were in the early stages, the conceptual stages of what has become 250 years of resistance for July 4th, right? This last week, we had a sister on who was doing something on July 5th. July 5th is the anniversary of Frederick Douglass, but to the American slave is your 4th of July, called Martyrs Day. So there are some healthy counter Independence Day responses taking place among our people that are necessary for us to have. I wanted you to come back because as we get close to that day and all of its toxicity to our people, we want everybody to know that all roads lead to Atlanta, that we've gone from conceptualization to mobilization to realization. You know, let folks know where we're at for July 4th and what that's all about. Come on back and bring us back up to date.
I love to, comrade. But first, let's get some foundation for the national mobilization against genocide. Right, the foundation is here. On October 22nd to the 23rd, 2021, we had an international tribunal, and it was held at the Malcolm X Betty Shabazz Education Center, formerly known as the Audubon, where El-Haj Malik Shabazz Malcolm X was assassinated. And as a result of this international tribunal, the international jurors found the United States guilty on the charge of genocide. Guilty on the charge of genocide against Black, brown, and indigenous people. We brought 5 charges. Those 5 charges: mass incarceration. They know they mass incarcerate us, right? State-sanctioned violence against us, police killing us. We know that they kill us across this country. Environmental racism. We know that many of our communities are found in areas that are polluted, and we suffer the highest level of asthma, highest level of heart disease, highest level of kidney disease. You name it, we have the highest level of it. And also environmental racism, health inequities. White people live longer than Black people in this country. And you have to ask the question, why? Why is that? Right, as a result of the system of white supremacy for the most part, and the existence of political prisoners. And the international jurors found on those 5 issues, we have brought 30 witnesses and boxes of documents to support our position. And the international jurors found the United States guilty. They said tantamount, those 5 charges or 5 issues, tantamount to genocide, right? And therefore, they found the United States guilty of genocide against Black, brown, and indigenous people. As a result of that finding, right, we made the determination that we have to figure out ways how to remove ourselves from any future harm. We got to divorce ourselves from a system that's committing genocides against us, right, as a people, right? And we know now that this government that we now are being governed by, right, they believe in genocides. They believe in mass murder. They believe in slavery, right? This is the Confederates of 3.0 or 2.0, right? What I call the MAGA Confederates, right? Who now controls the government. They control the military. They control the NSA. They control the CIA. They control the FBI. They control the law enforcement across the country. Not only do they control it, but they've created a new law enforcement comprising of Aryan Brotherhood, Proud Boys, neo-Nazis, and KKK that they call ICE. right? Let's call it what they are, right? It's a white supremacist militia. That's what it is, okay? And we recognize what their intent is. The Supreme Court just recently ruled that Trump can deport over 500,000 Haitians out of this country. Now, I know I don't look Haitian. I know I'm not Haitian, right? But who's going to be able to identify me as not being Haitian if they want to come after me or want to come after any black people across this country? That is a warrant for them to attack the black community, they have not been attacking the black community in the first place. So as a result of the International Tribunal finding the United States guilty of the charge of genocide against black, brown, indigenous people, we say we have to remove ourselves from harm. But the way we have to do so, we have to galvanize a national determination, a national campaign and movement where we can network with other resources and other forces across this country in the process of divorcing ourselves from a system of genocide. And so on July 4th, 2026, we will be conducting a national mobilization against genocide, and it's actually a national convergence of the most progressive forces across this country to come together for us to recognize that our struggle has been over 250 years of resisting genocides, right? And this is what we're going to be celebrating. We're going to be celebrating our resistance to genocide, our resistance to white supremacy, our resistance to capitalist imperialism, our resistance to fascism, and that is the goal and objective on July 4th. So we come to celebrate our 250 years, actually more, of resisting genocides, right? And then on July 5th, we will be having workshops on the 5 issues that was brought to the international jurors. Workshops on environmental racism, workshops on health inequities, workshops on mass incarceration, workshops on police killing us, state-sanctioned violence, and workshops on political prisoners. And we hope to be able to galvanize a collective understanding that we're all in this together, right? And so that we can begin the process of what we call building what we say is the People's Senate. We have to create alternative systems of governing because we know this government has not worked for us, will not work for us, and therefore we have to create alternative systems of governing. All right, and so that is the process what we are moving towards. This is gigantic. This is humongous. This is monumental, right? In terms of what we're trying to achieve here by building these systems of networks of progressive across the country. So what's going on in the West Coast will be understood. What's going on in the East Coast? What's going on in Central Turtle Island, which is the original name of this country, will be understood. What's going on down south. Right, so that we began the process from which we ensured that when they cut these benefits, what they're doing from us, that we have other source of resources from which we can bargain and trade and do whatever we need to do in order to survive this madness. So that's the goal and objective of July 4th and July 5th. July 4th, we'll be celebrating our 250 years of opposing genocides and resisting genocides. And on July 5th, we're going to be organizing ourselves in terms of building a national mobilization, what we call the People's Senate. That's what we're going to be building toward, what we call the People's Senate. Because we have to create new alternatives of governing, right? We have to create new alternatives of how we're going to understand our relationship with one another in this country, right? And the only way we can do that, we have to divorce ourselves from a system of oppression, divorce ourselves from a system of white supremacy, divorce ourselves from a system of fascism, right? And so that's the process we're moving towards. I don't know any place else or any other opportunity or organizing has been done on this capacity, right? And so that's where we're making this national call for all progressives, like as you said, Colonel Zaid, right? All roads leads to Atlanta. All roads lead to Georgia, and that's where we're going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the few minutes that we have left, you are our last. This year's, let me contextualize the question. This year is the 60th anniversary of the epic launch of the Black Panther Party. You are our last political prisoner from the party, held in captivity in New York. We've got one more from New York who is in Georgia, and 2 others that we also passionately concerned about by virtue of what prison does to their health after all these years and all this time served.
Absolutely.
On the heels of a beautiful memorial to our beloved fallen comrade Assata Olugbala Shakur, want you to, and the spirit of your comrades who are still in captivity, say what you want about Mumia Abu Jamal.
Okay.
And
All right. Let's again, let's textualize this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In 1998, my dear beloved sister Sophia Bukhari and my beloved brother Baba Herman Ferguson,
Yes,
right?
sir.
We collectively, right, co-founded the National Jericho Movement. National Jericho Movement has been in existence going on 28 years now. Our dear comrade Jihad Abdul Muhammad had been the chairman of the National Jericho Movement for over 16 years, and really brought it into national and international prominence under his leadership. Now, the National Jericho Movement primary goal and objective, and people can go to JerichoMovement.com and learn more about our political prisoners. Its specific goals and objectives is support the release and amnesty release of all political prisoners, but especially those of the 60s and the 70s that came out of the movement in the 60s and the 70s. And so when we look at, for instance, Kwame Shakur, or we look at Kamal Siddiqui, when we look at Zolo Whitmore, when we look at Jamal Abu Jamal, Mumia Abu Jamal, well, I get all these names mixed up. There's so many of them that we have to pay attention to. That we have to recognize that they represent us. They represent the best of us. Right? Why I say that? Because these are the ones who put their life and liberty on the line, right, for our people, for our struggle. Right. So therefore, they cannot be abandoned. Right. They are our comrades behind enemy lines. All right. And therefore, a brother out of your town, Ojiri, right? He once stated that any movement that support political prisoners is a sham movement.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
Yeah, that's the statement, right? And I hold on to that. Okay, it has to be a sham movement because they're not supporting the generational determination of our struggle, right? Because it is from generation to generation. We're standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. Right? We continue to struggle, continue to fight, to build us in a position where we are today to continue this fight. So with that understanding, we have to support our political prisoners, right? So I call upon anyone who's listening, right? Anyone who's on board here to get in contact with the National Jericho Movement, right? And support this campaign, or get in contact with the Northeast Political Prisoners Coalition, an organization put together by our dear ancestor, Baba Sekou Dinga. Absolutely, our chief. Okay, and so it is important for us to get involved with this action, get involved with this work, right? Because there's a continuance, right, in struggle. And if we don't support our political prisoners, then how are we going to expect anyone to engage on the level they need to engage in for potential getting in prison or being incarcerated, and don't expect them to be supported? Right? Indeed. That's ridiculous.
And thank you. I know that we run out of our time for this, but what is there's a specific event on July 4th and 5th. Can you just run through that one more time, what the events are and where they can reach out?
Thank you for that question, Jonathan. It's National Mobilization Against Genocides, right? You can go to spiritofmandela.org, spiritofmandela.org, to learn more about building the People's Senate, what is the golden objective of the National Mobilization, ultimate golden objective of National Mobilization, right? To go to spiritofmandela.org and learn more about that. But the National Mobilization Against Genocide is July 4th and 5th in Atlanta, Georgia. It will be held at the East End, at the West End Park, Malcolm X West End Park, which is right across the street from the masjid of my dear beloved Imam Jamil Alameen.
Who we lost in captivity last year.
That's right.
Well,
lost him.
Well, thank you so much, and we're going to have you back soon again. This segment was too short. We only scheduled 15 minutes, but we've got to get you back and on here for a longer segment.
Okay, all right, my brother. Y'all be safe. All power to the people. Free the land.
Free the land.
All right, thank you. All right, so welcome to All Politics Are Local, and welcome back. And Zaid, I will have you introduce this segment, but I will say that your next guest is a guest that I've been trying to get on the show for a long, long time. So I am very, very glad that she is on, and we are trying to get her back on a more regular basis too. She is full of just so much information that she always brings to us. So, Zaid, give your introduction.
Noelle, can you hear us? You're
No,
muted.
no, we can't hear you.
You're muted. Yeah, we will make sure you're muted.
Can you hear me
No, you're
now?
not.
Now,
We can hear you now.
very
We can
good.
hear you now.
Very good. A couple of years ago, she put together this incredible exhibit that was on display at the Newark Public Library of Revolutionary Black Women across a wide span of time. And she's come back to that theme at Project Empty Space with the fresh exhibit that is also, very timely as as whiteness seeks to pursue its glory without any regard for its toxicity, right? That we have to create spaces for ourselves to immunize ourselves from that toxicity, and at the same time correct the historical record and elevate those who should be elevated, who have been invisibilized or repressed. In this particular exhibit, Revolutionary Black Women is one that seeks to do so in its own unique way. So its curator has come back. She has been here before, and she is no stranger to this space and to what we do. Welcome back, Noelle Lorraine Williams, and tell us about what's popping at Project Empty Space, my dear daughter.
Great. Good evening, Baba and Jonathan. I'm so happy to be back. But first, before I proceed, I just want to say it's such an honor going on after your guest. I believe his name was Jalil Muntiqim. Just so inspirational listening to him, and really all the folks from the generations before me. I was born in Jersey City, but I've lived in East Orange and Newark, so it's just exciting to be here, to hear his story, to hear the local story and the national story. And so, thank you for inviting me to talk about Black revolutionary women, a colony within a colony. This exhibition is still a local story. It's our regional story. And it's looking at the ways in which African-American women were revolutionaries and freedom fighters in their own way during the 1700s. And so the show really asks the audience, who gets to be called a revolutionary? Whose life gets to be commemorated? And I'm inviting audiences to a safe space to really understand that Black women are the real revolutionaries.
Well, you gotta add to that sentence. You just came on that.
Right.
That's the mic drop, as we say in this show's language.
Yes, well, it was really interesting.
Well, let me help you.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna put back on your introductory remarks. Jalil Muntiqim was our last New York Panther who was being in the carceral system, right? Within the Black Panther Party, I was raised by several incredible Black women. Only one is still living, right? One of them is Asada Olubala Shakur. Straight up, I'm making plain, right? I can remember the first time she gave me an order, right? Okay, right? Safia Bukhari Alston, who I named my only child after, my only biological child after, right? And several others. Rosemary Mill is still in the land of the living, who was our gateway to revolutionary Cuba. And I can go on. I've been trained by some incredible revolutionary Black women that can rumble with some of anybody on that front. That's on the contemporary side, but you go on and add to get your remarks off on that.
Great. I mean, definitely the legacies of these Black women who existed and who lived in the 1700s and early 1800s throughout the Americas. Their stories are so important. So as you all discussed in the last segment, America's 250th is coming up the Saturday after next. And a lot of what people are looking forward to celebrating are the stories of the so-called founding fathers, George Washington, Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, all of these folks. But what's so important to understand is that during this period, we really have a thriving slave market here in the Americas, but also in Brazil, also in what would become known as Haiti in the Dominican Republic at that time. It was Saint-Domingue, as well as other parts of South America. And that there were Black women who, unlike these white men who were fighting for their freedom from the British, were literally fighting for their own freedom and fighting for the freedom of their children. One of the linchpins of this show is that what enslavement brought for Black women was not only the enslavement of our bodies, but also our descendants, right? So in Virginia in 1662, we see the law Partus Sequitur Ventrum. And basically this law establishes that it's going to go contrary to English law. English law says that children descend from the father and that the father owns all children, any legacy comes through them, right? So what they do in Virginia is they're saying, you know what, we're going to chuck that out the window. And for economic sake, what we're going to do is say that Black women, the children of Black women, they take on the status of the Black woman. So essentially, when one purchases a Black woman at any point, you then have ownership over her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. So this is at the center, actually, of this show. There are two parts. One, understanding that Black women are fighting a unique fight, right? They're fighting a fight when they run away, when they take care of their children, whatever they do to save their descendants into almost infinity, right? And then what also happens is that this show highlights the stories of the 914 Black women who were able to successfully leave with the British from New York after the Revolutionary War. So some of your audience may not know, but during the Revolutionary War, the British offered two opportunities. The first that preceded the Revolutionary War in 1775, which was mostly for African Americans in Virginia to fight with them and win their freedom, okay? And then later on in 1779, really in the throes of the Revolutionary War, Sir Clinton in New York, he offers an opportunity for all Black people who are owned with quotes, by the Patriots to escape to the British side, and that the British will give them freedom. Fast forward to the end of the Revolutionary War, the Treaty of Paris, George Washington and all of the fellow landowners and enslavers, they believed that the agreement is for the British to give back all of the African Americans because African Americans are considered to be property, right? And so the British say that they promised the African Americans freedom and they were going to give them freedom. George Washington, he becomes very angry, as well as the other leaders, and they come up with the compromise to have something called the Birch Trials, which actually takes place about 20 minutes away from us by train in Manhattan at the Francis Tavern, which actually still sits there as one of the oldest buildings in New York. Yes. Mm-hmm. And they have a set of trials where African Americans literally have to go formerly enslaved and free African Americans literally have to go stand and testify on their own behalf that they are deserving of freedom and should be able to escape. Some African Americans are sent back to slavery, whether it's in New Jersey or whether it's in the South. But luckily, 3,000 of them are afforded the opportunity to go to Nova Scotia. Wow. These are the ancestors of what we now recognize as Sierra Leone, as well as Nova Scotia. So they moved to Nova Scotia, and I don't want to go too deeply into the story, but they get the worst of the land. Even though they're given land, they're never given the deeds. And this story actually lasts for generations up to this day in Nova Scotia and Canada, with African Canadians demanding their rights still. And so it's a continued legacy. But what this show does is, first, it highlights the courage of Black women who literally fought for their own bodies, but fought for their children and their descendants. And it celebrates and illuminates the 914 women who were able, by their own grit, working for the British Army, to gain their freedom and go to Canada.
I want to put a pin in something, because
Thank you.
A friend of mine is a great scholar who you should know by the name of Gerald Horne.
Yes.
Gerald has written damn near 50 books, but one of his face slapping masterpieces, and pardon my graphic dimension, this is my personality as a rumbler, right, is the counter-revolution of 1776, right? There was, the place that slavery held in that ultimate conflict between the British and the emerging United States is something to appreciate. Britain was looking at the question of ending slavery to some degree, right? While the United States wanted to make sure they got cut in on slavery and to have it last a bit longer. If you want to, further contextualize what you're talking about, because that is indeed the counter-revolution, right?
Yes. And I mean, one of the key things is that we've really, really, really been lulled into the fact that slavery was a marginal issue. In no way was slavery a marginal or at the fringes or an inconsequential issue to the building of this country. Actually, grievance number 27, if most folks go and look at the Declaration of Independence, you don't have to believe me. Grievance number 27, actually, of the 27 grievances against King George, it actually lists the insurrection, that the British have supported the insurrection and rebellion. It doesn't name of the enslaved people, but scholars know that they're talking about the insurrection of the Black people who fought with the British in Virginia. So they discuss that in grievance number 27. And then they talk about the allegiances or alliances that the British have made with Native Americans. So essentially, the Declaration of Independence establishes that Black rebellion and Indigenous rebellion are contrary to the potential for the United States, okay? Now, what we need to understand about the British is that while there were burgeoning abolitionists, right, the British would later so-called emancipate people in the British Caribbean. And they did it in a prolonged 4-year manner, I believe. We all know that none of the people in the Caribbean from the British ever received any reparations. The people who received reparations from the British were the white enslavers. And during Black Lives Matter, scholars and reporters have been doing the research showing how the reparations that the British received after they so-called emancipated the people in the British Caribbean, that has helped to make the British gentry and the elite that now still live there rich, and so it has long-ranging implications. So by no means are the British on a whole anti-slavery. Even so, the British actually sold some of the enslaved people that they captured from the Patriots. They sold them to the West Indies. Okay, so for the 250th, besides the Declaration of Independence stating that Black rebellion was against what the 13 colonies felt was for their own benefit. Besides that, we see the whole question around Indigenous land. Many scholars now believe, and Ken Burns actually posits this in his film about the American Revolution, that in fact, George Washington and a lot of those leaders, they were upset because the British had promised that they could settle near the Appalachian Mountains, west of the Appalachian Mountains, and the British had reneged on that to preserve their relationship with indigenous communities. And many scholars are now seeing that as one of kind of like, I would say, the flame that really, really stoked the revolution, even hand in hand with like the tea and the other taxes and tariffs. But that these people like George Washington, who married into wealth, were really depending on more land acquisition to build wealth. So, you know, in school when we were younger, they told us it was about freedom and they told us it was about ideals.
Cherry tree version of history.
Yeah. What did you say, Baba?
The cherry tree version of history.
The cherry tree.
I chopped a cherry tree down. Oh my God.
Yeah. And what it really was about indigenous land and Black enslavement. Those are really the core issues of the American Revolution. But I just think there's Jonathan.
Okay, so can you repeat that? Because like from what I hear, and again, this stuff is just not taught. It's not even taught in Newark public schools in the way that I have heard it from you, right? And I know you do a lot of work with Newark public schools, et cetera. But you're saying that the impetus from the revolution wasn't just like taxation without representation or the things that were taught. It was the British had outlawed slavery and we were like, or not. The British had made treaties with Native Americans and were against the giving away of that land to like colonists. Like they put a hold on the giving away of that land to preserve their treaties with Native Americans. So when you're talking about both slavery and settler colonialism, the British were actually pushing back on that in the Americas very specifically. And the United States, at the forming of the United States, the colonies, broke with the British because of those two issues in the United States geography specifically.
Yes, I mean, Dr. Horn, in his book, The Counter-Revolution, he discusses more about the theories of British abolition and British anti-slavery work and the fear by American colonists in that the British were looking to impede on their practices in the Americans' practices with the slave trade. And I think that is a very strong contention in the book. I think definitely when I think about the American Revolution, the idea of the concept that Washington and other leaders were very angry about their inability to settle the lands west of the Appalachia. That was definitely one of the priorities for them as far as acquiring wealth. And I think these are central issues in the contentions that they have during the revolution. While the settling the land west of the Appalachia is not outlined in the Declaration of Independence, the rebellion by African Americans and the alliances with Native Americans or indigenous folks, it is outlined. But there were several drafts of the Declaration of Independence, but in the final one, we can find that. So in that case, thinking about this show, Black Revolutionary Women, a colony within a colony, one of the ways that I start the show is really situating folks and helping them to understand that what we now understand as New Jersey and New York, they're former settler colonies, you know. Absolutely. So I introduced them to this concept, and I really love the brother before us because, you know, he did what I'm doing a little bit in the show. I'm giving bite-sized morsels of folks understanding the international implications of the American Revolution and the slave trade. So when we think about New York and New Jersey, these were areas that were initially settled by the Dutch. And the Dutch didn't come here to, you know, to, sorry, what you say, Baba?
They didn't come empty-handed. They had some company with them to do the work.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't come for freedom of religion. They didn't come to celebrate their rights. They came here to make money. So they came to
land and slaves.
Yeah, and they, like Black Gotham, they call, land of slaves. They come here and they basically start the process of hunting and also trading with indigenous folks for beaver skins. I mean, Amsterdam is literally the riches of the Netherlands are from the backs of the beavers that they extracted from our region. They called it New Netherlands. The Manhattan was originally called New Amsterdam. We were part of that. They expanded the trading to timber and other things. And then they then proceeded to try to control the indigenous populations that worked with them earlier. And so we see something like the Pavonia Massacre. I think that takes place in 1640. That's right over there in Jersey City, where we now go to Liberty Science Center and we hang out. That's where 120
Avenue was named after people getting slaughtered by white folks.
The area is that area, Pavonia, yes. I don't know if it was named after the massacre, but that's what the area was called.
Yes.
That's what the area was called, where they murdered 120 indigenous people. And so in the Dutch, then, the Dutch also enslaved people in their earlier settlements. Some of the people were free. Some of the people, Black people, were enslaved. The early Africans that might have been from Portugal or West Africa, they demanded their rights for freedom. And so the Dutch then allowed them the opportunity to be have some semblance of freedom and own the land, but they kept control of their children. And this is an essential part that the Dutch put into motion, but that the Portuguese, the British, the Spanish, the French, they all participate in it, and that is what makes slavery in the Americas different from the hundreds of kinds of slavery that have existed throughout humankind. Is this desire to enslave, that by purchasing one person, winning one person during a war, you then have a right to generations of their family into infinity. There have only been maybe two or three other examples of groups of people who were enslaved, and that, their children, their grandchildren, and so on. And so this show really takes that camera, takes that framework and looks at it a little bit closer on what Black women specifically were the context of their enslavement, right, is different from other forms of enslavement, in that just by them reproducing, that they are in fact enslaving their children. And we see in the wills of these white men who own Black women, they're like, and when I die, my children will have Betsy and all her children, and so on and so forth. It's written into their wills. And so I think there is a particular amount of courage and freedom that's way beyond protesting taxation or the inability to own more land, that is profoundly more powerful with these Black women who strategize to end up in Nova Scotia and be free, and as well as the other Black women who ran away and claimed their freedom. And we no longer call them runaways; we call them freedom seekers. And they are the ancestors of folks like, rest in peace, Assata Shakur, Rosa Parks, all of the women who stood up to a very violent culture, which this culture is. And they said, no, I'm going to claim my body and my freedom.
Excellent. I just found a tip of history on the Pavonia Massacre. There is a billboard. I don't know.
Yes.
There's a billboard with 1643, claiming, this is Lenape land. Remember the Pavonia Massacre? I said, wow, I had not seen that. But yes.
Yeah. Thank you to Jack Chen and the folks at Rutgers Newark. They've worked with the Ramapo folks to get that billboard up. I mean, this is history. We're all pushing. We're all working on the ground so folks can understand that this land you're walking on is filled, it's filled with the courage and the work of people who have worked to claim our lives and look out for their descendants. And so, I want to invite everyone to come by the gallery. We're having an event on July 5th. You have to register for the event. It's going to be a poetry workshop and writing workshop with Kay Desiree and Millwood, who is a poet here, as well as a singer here in Newark. And we're going to talk about what freedom means for us on July 5th and how do we move forward and imagine our freedom in a creative way. And after July 5th, I welcome everyone to come by the exhibition. I'll be doing 2 tours this summer. We'll be doing a community chant in October. And the whole thing is to have a space for folks to have conversations about freedom, rethink the history that and build the positivity and the critical skills that we'll need to continue beyond today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Jonathan, you were getting ready to jump in. Go ahead. What were you getting ready to say, Nas?
I know that we're running out of time, but I just wanted to. We are definitely going to have you back again, and we really want to get you back more often because we want to have more in-depth conversations about the very good work that you do and the insight that you have. It's unique insight. You are, and I say this all the time, right? I say this to you all the time randomly on like Facebook. You are a public intellectual. You are one of our gifts in Newark as a public intellectual, and we appreciate you. And we really want to have you back on often to just talk about, go more in depth with the things that you're talking about. I'm a debate coach. We deal with many of these ideas. We talk about, and I'm especially interested in what you were saying because you were talking about Black women and the lens in which we should look at history and why that is a valuable lens because it helps us unpack so many different issues about freedom, so many different issues about the nature of oppression when we look at it through that lens. And I think that it is one of those things that in the way that you're putting the scholarship, it's like if we truly want to have an understanding of freedom and what freedom means, then you have to explore history and what went on through the lens of Black women because that gives you and you do little things like when you were talking about the way in which the patriarchal lineage was changed so that when Black women were fighting, they were fighting not just they were fighting for the legally, like structurally, the lens for their own descendants. And because if they are enslaved, then their children would be enslaved legally, structurally, changed just for us. So I think that more people should engage, should have a better understanding of this, because I think that that would really help people better understand that nature of freedom. So I want to thank you, and I want to just hugely invite you to come back on a more regular basis because I think just conversations with you are valuable. And I just wanted to really publicly say that you are a valuable resource for our community, and I appreciate you. And I think everyone in Newark should very specifically appreciate you and the scholarship that you do and the presentations that you have continually laid out for us. So thank you.
And there's a practical place to go with that, right? And you know, question of colonial education, you know,
Yes.
kind of education is still the order of the day in a city like Newark, on the heels of celebrating, you know, its own incredible expression of revolutionary Black power. You know, the fact that we do not have our own curriculum teaching in the way it should is a problem that we need to solve. That
Well,
we
definitely.
need to solve. So the resource is as a practical place for application and value and use right here in our own school systems. I got to put a pin in that way, because you know we ain't gonna, you know, we ain't here to just celebrate and be peachy and whatnot. We got to change the world, right?
Yes.
Noelle.
I totally
Noelle,
agree, and I just want to totally agree, and I do look forward to further implementation of the Amistad school curriculum.
Yes,
and they have this summer Amistad. I'm just gonna work for my day job now. Amistad is having their workshop for teachers this summer, and I think people can still register. So, sorry, Donna, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you really quickly, when you're doing the work that you do and you engage with all manner of people, do you ever come, you know how you have people who say, slavery, it wasn't us, it was the people before us when it comes to people that enslave people. Have you ever come across persons that really want to think about, like you said, how in their wills and things like that, people own people? Have you ever come across persons who have found that families enslave people, where they really want to open up their papers or talk about the regret that their family did things like that? Have you ever met any persons that can look to their lineage and see where their family owned and see how they can contribute? You know, if only to say some
I know, Donna. Way to ask an Indian question.
I got you, Jonathan, or you know, something like that. I'm sorry, Noelle. Do you come across that?
She's doing it, Donna.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't think I've ever had anyone who's come up to me and said that, though I have met a lot of people, very interestingly, who have connections to slavery. I went on a house tour in Perth Amboy, and someone showed me a grading that their ancestor had buried during the Civil War, so that they could save it. And I have to say, it's something just going on for a tour in a place like Perth Amboy and someone showing the grading that their female ancestors saved during the Civil War right here in front of me, as someone who survived that, right? So I meet a lot of people, though, who know that they have enslavers in their families. One of the things I do with this project is I talk about street names in Newark. You know, the Dodds, for example, were enslavers. Over here, the Bruins were land speculators and enslavers. Even McWhorter donated in a slave person named James for Montclair Newark Academy to have a donation to Newark Academy, right? So Newark Academy
and Newark Academy that still exists. So slave donation
but its early coffers, you know, was from, you know, Reverend McWhorter from First Presbyterian Church, giving an enslaved man so someone could purchase. So these legacies exist. I think the framework is very important, and I thought about it the other night, even with Sally Hemings. And you know, with Sally Hemings, we wonder, why didn't she run away in Paris? And I realized Sally Hemings, you know, she was the third generation, I believe, of women who had not only been enslaved, but who also bore children for their enslavers. And in her case, and I said, Sally Hemings, when she was able to negotiate with Jefferson that her children would be free, even though she stayed enslaved until she died, that was a win for her, because in her framework, she was a survivor of 3 generations of women
and she broke
who had literally been enslaved. Yes. And I said, it's interesting, but many props to Dr. Gerald Horn, as Zaid Muhammad said, and Dr. Jennifer Morgan. Dr. Jennifer Morgan has done a lot of this work looking at Black women and slavery. So please all check out her work. She's the one who brought the theory of partis sequitur ventrum back into conversations. So I definitely don't want to neglect her scholarship. And we actually have her really big on the wall for the exhibition. So y'all come downtown to Project for Empty Space. Please visit the website, register. Please join us. And you'll definitely, find out a lot. And it'll help you.
Well, no, I get to ask you this last question. When you're doing that work,
we have somebody on.
Okay.
We're just moving on. We're moving on to the next one.
Okay.
We're already keeping our guests late.
I'll be around the whole summer. So
okay. Well, we're gonna have you back. Okay.
Maybe I'll come back on this topic again. But thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care. And thank you. Hey, so welcome, Josie Gonsalves of Public Square Amplified. We apologize for the delay. We are constantly running a little bit late on our shows. We have you on for this segment. And I just want to say something to start off the segment. We are going to be talking about the Black press. I know that Josie, this is something that is very near and dear to you as a publisher on Public Square Amplified, and we have talked about having conversations about the Black press on a more regular basis. So this is something we are going to do regularly: have Black press in New Jersey, Black press around, and start talking about some of these conversations. But to start this off, I just want to acknowledge the passing of Tony Brown, of Tony Brown's Journal.
Really?
And Todd Burrows, Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows, shout out to Todd Stephen Burrows, texted me earlier and let me know that Tony Brown of Tony Brown's Journal just passed away, or at least was acknowledged to have passed away today. I believe he died maybe a few days ago, but his family gave notice to the rest of the world today. And it is in that spirit that really all politics are local exists, as in we had a conversation with Josie before about whether we are Black press or not. I'm like, we are opinions, we have people on. I don't know if we would be in that category of journalism, but it is in that spirit of making sure that we are amplifying voices in our community, putting people together, having conversations about our solutions, engaged in civic discourse, as we need to have civic discourse. And I just wanted to acknowledge Tony Brown of Tony Brown's Journal, who inspired really all of us who like to get people together and have conversations. So with that, Josie.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll come back to Tony Brown and my encounter with him, not in person, but on the square when as a teenager. But I want to, because I've been here a few times, I want to acknowledge my partner and colleague and friend, Penda Howell, who is the publisher of New Jersey Urban News, who has a longer history in news and journalism than I do. And I'm so happy to be a partner with him and to try to figure out this world that we're in together. I would sort of relent on his accolades, but I want Penn to give us sort of like just a brief overview of his long decades in journalism. So welcome, Penda. I'm so excited to have you here. And thank you so much, Jonathan and Donna and Zaid, for having us. Welcome, Penda.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks again for allowing me a few minutes to be on the show. My name is Penda Howell. I am the co-founder, publisher, CEO of New Jersey Urban News. Formerly 19 years Vice President, Chief Revenue Officer with the New York Amsterdam News, and a longtime board member of the NNPA, which is the National Black Press Association. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here.
So there's something that seems to be going on with the Black press, and New Jersey in general. Josie, can you give me a synopsis of what the issue is in terms of Black press, and what are some of those? What is the situation that we have right now?
Sure. And let me say, I know you'll have Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows on very soon. I come to this Black press space just in the past 5 or 6 years. And in looking at the research, and it's both the research that has been done by Montclair State and sort of the more sort of qualitative sort of review of our encounters. And I always say our, I'm talking about me and Penda with other Black publishers. I think maybe, and Penda can correct me, so about 4, I think, or 5 years ago, there were probably, I don't know, and I think all politics are local would be included in that. There may have been, and this is also Roger, I think it's Roger Smith's outlet and a couple of others. There are probably about 15 sort of outlets that are founded, led by folks, by Black people. So there are about 15. There are, I think, probably half of those sort of straight newsroom, and Penda can correct me. And currently, I think we are at what, maybe, I don't know, 5 newsrooms, Penda, do you think? Or maybe less?
Maybe 5 or 6. That's about right, Josie.
Yeah, that are founded and led by Black people. And so that sort of comprises the sort of the physical landscape of the Black press. Now,
so when you say 5 newsrooms, do you mean like there are 5 predominantly Black-run publications
Whole time
in New Jersey?
Yeah. Correct.
In New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay.
In New Jersey, right? And
can you name which ones they are, just to give them a shout out? Like what are the Black publications in New Jersey?
I think Penda was going
to. Before we go there, I think we should qualify that statement, Josie, because I want to be sure that folks understand when we say Black newsrooms, we're talking about Black owned and operated media organizations, and that produce news and information and encourage civic engagement. So we're not talking about news adjacent organizations.
Correct.
So I just wanted to quote.
And what is a news adjacent organization? What do you mean by that?
So there, I think we would consider, and sort of a white institution comes to mind. But before we go to news adjacent organizations, to Penda's point, when we look at newsrooms, for example, 2 examples would be Public Square Amplified and New Jersey Urban News. They produce a lot more content than we do. They have a much bigger bigger newsroom, meaning they have more reporters, they have editors. We have to look at the budget size. And I think it's in the budget size of an institution that you get a sense of access, reach, power, what we can leverage, what we can cover. So we're like, Black people are probably 13 to 15% of the population in New Jersey on any given day, on any given research survey. So we target Newark. We try to target Newark. Penda covers the entire state. This was sort of a mantra for me for a couple of years. The combined budgets of the 5 to 6 organizations that would be described as newsrooms wouldn't hit $1 million. Annual budget wouldn't hit $1 million. This is a crisis, right? When we talk about coverage, when we talk about making sure that our stories are heard, but not just our stories are heard, but that we are centering the stories and the issues that are affecting Black people across the state. So when you think of 5 newsrooms covering the state of New Jersey, one of the richest states in the country, our combined budgets will not hit 1 million. And Penda, you can correct me. I could be like off by 200,000, but that's a crisis, right? And so Penda and I every day wear multiple hats because of that. We can talk about those multiple hats, but that's the issue, and that's the crisis. And the news adjacent organizations would be, I would say, an example would be, say, Rutgers could be a news adjacent organization if they produced their own newsletter and they talked about their students and they focused on their students. Or say Beth Israel had its communications arm that sort of set up a news shop. More and more we're seeing these as news, as journalism changes and morphs and evolves. The idea of the fourth estate designated in the First Amendment is changing. And it's not changing for more accountability and more transparency that we're holding those in power to, but it is changing on the particular constituents that folks are focused on. Not that we haven't always been focused on our constituencies. The Wall Street Journal is focused on investment bankers. New York Times is focused on a particular donor elite class across the country, across the world. So people have their constituents, but more and more there's a catering to messaging. And as we all know, Mikey Sherrill is very obsessed with social influencers. And so she sees social influencers far more important to getting news and information out to the community than, say, straight newsrooms or journalism.
It's part of that. It's part of that because there is now a disconnect between the larger Black community in New Jersey and the news organizations that really are trying to get a voice up for us, right? That are covering this news. Like I couldn't name the 5 Black publications. I wouldn't know how to name them. It seems like the problem is a problem of community ownership. By ownership, I don't mean physical ownership. I mean like our community saying, like, everybody had Ebony, everybody had Jet, right? You knew you went to Jet magazine every week, you went to Ebony magazine every month. They were part of the community. Why is there a disconnect, or at least seemingly a disconnect now? Because it seems like if Newark New Jersey has a lot of Black people in it. If we were invested in the press in the way that we should be, you would be getting the views, all of the attention where those advertising dollars would go. What has been the problem? What has caused that break, whatever that break is, to occur?
So I'm sure Penda has the sort of straight sort of news analysis on this. But I don't think, and Penda, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think that the disconnect is unique to the Black community. We had a sort of in post.com bust, we had sort of a change in the way news and the emergence of these legacy news organizations, right? We had a change in the way people were getting their news. Then we saw the disappearance because of, and Penda will talk more about the change in the business model of news organizations. But on sort of a social political level, we saw people getting more and more of their news from the national level. So we had that sort of pushing a sort of greater stratification of people away from sort of local news. And local news disappeared, and Penda will talk about the advertising piece of this. But I think it's not unique. I think social media also changed it. Technology changed it. Our politics changed it. And the way in which, and sort of the economy sort of changed it as well. whether or not news mattered, where we were getting information from. So a lot of that has changed. Unique to New Jersey, there's the whole idea of the slaughter of the black press, right? So when Todd Stephen Burrows was a young 17-year-old reporter and Deborah Smith Gregory was his editor, there were thriving news organizations on a daily basis in Newark. That has changed. And it's changed when I came to town probably 8 years ago. I couldn't find a black news outlet in Newark, and I couldn't find a black news outlet in New Jersey, which led me to sort of, well, we've got to do something called Public Square Amplified. So that's, you know, it's both a socioeconomic phenomenon, and it's also the business phenomenon. I'm going to hand over to Penda. Did I?
Well, something happened there.
Did we get lost?
I think you guys are all right.
Oh, we're on?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Yeah. So Penda's going to talk about sort of the change in the way in which news is fun. Go ahead, Penda.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in there a little bit, Josie, and add New Jersey's always been this sort of hybrid media sort of space, right? We're sandwiched between New York, right, which is the #1 media ecosystem in the world, and Philadelphia, which is another major market. And so depending on what part of New Jersey you're in, oftentimes in the past, you would simply get associated with one of those markets. If you were in North Jersey, they'd associate you with the New York market, South Jersey, the Philadelphia market, right? And New Jersey was almost like this lost leader. It's kind of like the Nets with the basketball team, you know? And so, you know, in all of my time in media, and I started in media in New Jersey, but there was never a consistent presence or voice from the Black media in New Jersey. Our news and information traditionally came from the general market publications, and that information was consistently negative and told stories that led with blood. When we all know, those of us who are from the community, born and raised here, that there's tons of stories, thousands, literally, of incredible work that's going on in the community from a family perspective, from small business perspective, from educational perspective to community involvement perspective, et cetera, et cetera. You can go on and on and on. Those stories traditionally were not told by the large market pubs here. And so I think some of what we're experiencing is a reconditioning, if you will, because the readership as a whole in New Jersey has typically not expected to receive the type of content that we're producing on a consistent basis from us, by us, for people that look like us, consistently on a professional high level, which is what we do. It's almost a new phenomenon, right? And so when I go back to audience engagement and awareness around the work that we're doing, these are businesses. And so, you know, it does require us, there's an onus on us also as the business owners to make sure that our products and our services are publicized, are advertised, and marketed so that folks know where they can come to receive this news and information. I think part of the hindrance with us, or not hindrance, but part of sort of part of what makes it difficult for us is that the advertising dollars don't flow to us like they would normally do to a normal media organization that's reporting on general market news. And so for me, as a for-profit business entity, the majority of our revenue from a company perspective is on earned revenue and a lot less on grants, right? 75% of our revenue comes from earned revenue, 25% of our revenue comes from grants, and we've only gotten grants for a year. right? So it's important for us as media organizations to not only engage the community on that level, but on a much broader scale to market our services to the broader community at large statewide. And so sometimes that's very difficult in this environment because this is new. For the most part, this concept is new. Yes, there were Black publications in Newark, but you're going back 20, 25 years.
25 years. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's been maybe longer than that. It's been a long time.
Pretty News is the last one.
Right. It's been a long time. And so we haven't been around like, where I worked at the Amsterdam News. The Amsterdam News is 115 years old. I mean, that's embedded in generations of our folks, right? And so, therein lies some of the challenge with us as media organizations.
Do you think that maybe it's a matter of like, and I don't want to, I'll just say it bluntly, like,
of course,
do you think that Reels and TikToks have to be a part of what, like, because we're talking about Black press, we have not used printing presses in many years, probably generations now, right? That the way in which, like, there's news that you read, but even the reading content has an audio content, has a video content. Is that something that you have to do? And where your TikToks or Reels, are advertising for your actual publication?
Yes.
So I'm gonna, Penda, you can go first because I'm gonna challenge like two of your points. But
so there's a divide. Mm-hmm. All right. So there's older generation. There's folks my age and older, maybe a select group that's a little younger, that still appreciate reading news and information from print products. Mm-hmm. There's still an audience for it, mm-hmm. but it's it's increasingly getting older and older, right? The younger audiences appreciate receiving their information digitally. And those include my kids and nieces and nephews and friends and cousins. They look at a newspaper, and when I'm reading a newspaper, like I'm a dinosaur. Like, what in the world is that? Why would you waste money on that? And so, yes, we have to answer your question, we have to be on the other side of that, which is the Reels, which is, the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the TikToks and all of that, because, pretty soon 60 to 68% of our readership will be consuming consuming news from those platforms.
So it's, Jonathan, it's still the press, right? The reason we exist and the reason we can do what we do is because the First Amendment says freedom of the press. And the press is the only thing named in the Constitution that allows us the freedom to do this. And so, yes, it is still the press. To your second point about, and what sort of Penda expanded on integrating these assets into the work that we do. One, it is costly. Two, yes, we have to do it because we have to engage with the audience. Three, when we do it, we are doing it because we've done the research, we've done the fact checking, we've done the research, and we've provided the analysis. That's the nuance and the difference that we're not spending enough time on. That newsrooms are doing the job that journalists do, and the news adjacent organizations that Penda talked about, and to a large extent, those sort of social influences that Mikey Howell talks often about, and others. You still have to do your fact checking. You still have to do the research. You still have to drill down on the efficacy of anything that is being presented to you. we're losing that civics component of our news. We're losing that civics component of the way in which we engage in social political discourse. And the marketplace is banking on it because it's much less expensive for them to engage, to pay for outreach and audience and product placement. It's much cheaper for them to do that than to support news organizations that are actually going to hold them accountable, whether it's a pharmaceutical company or it's it's data centers, or it's an organization that's using Medicaid dollars to run their clinics across the state. Journalists are going to dig behind the news and behind the reels. And so that's the challenge that we're facing. We're either going to drill down and do journalism the way in which it is designed to be done, or we are going to allow ourselves to engage in the perpetuation of misinformation and disinformation. And so for us, for Penda, for me, for the other Black newsrooms that are trying to build newsrooms by covering stories and by sifting through all the hype and the mis and disinformation to center the voices of the people who are being affected, and also to bring the news to them and to bring the news to a wider audience. That's the struggle on a sort of a daily basis. Yes, we have to engage. Sorry.
No. So it seems like what you're saying is that there are two things that are really important. First, it's that the things that you do are checking of reality that we need for our community. What is real? What is not real? Like, what is the actual news on a daily basis? The second thing is that it's a check on power. It's a check on government in terms of that civics component. We know that misinformation is a thing. We know that misinformation happens and is more prevalent. And a lot of that misinformation is very deliberate misinformation. I get what you're saying is that the death of a Black newsroom means that Black people are more susceptible now than ever before to massive amounts of disinformation and misinformation, and therefore manipulation and being hurt by government and hurt by people in power in ways that we haven't been for like a while. It is uniquely a more horrible harm now.
It is. And let me say something we should consider, that government can be manipulated as well. Because those who own the algorithms and those who sort of own the information when the information is being shared, they're also, they're manipulating government for particular policy outcomes. I'll give you an example of this. Well, not a direct example, but let's consider this. Coming to New Jersey will be something called an AI platform to capture school board meetings, recordings of school board meetings, municipal council meetings, etc., in our communities, in our neighborhoods. The capturing of that through an AI platform could then begin to filter and change the way in which we, both sociologically, culturally, politically, the way in which we encounter issues, community members, power, etc. Our conversations could change radically. The information that we have at the ready to make decisions about voting, to make decisions about policies, that can disappear. We become more and more disengaged. We're going to see, I think, a generational divide in those who understand particular ideas about the world and how we sort of address the world, and those who sort of adopted a new way of engaging with power. So I did a couple of experiments and had AI sort of edit a couple of our stories. The words that we use were eliminated. The descriptions of issues and emotions and feelings and ideas and demands, those were changed radically. They became more passive. more disconnected, more of an outsider approach. So we have to consider that. That is something that we're going to have to grapple with.
And earlier, when we asked Jonathan, you're on mute, about Black media, do you consider like, I guess, National Action Network, do you consider like Sirius XM, they have a whole urban station, which is pretty much all kind of led by a Black journalist, Karen Hunter. So do you consider that? And then, of course, Roland Martin, do you consider that Black media? Because, you know, on the series, you have like Tate Kane, Larry Daniel Favors. I'm trying to think of the whole, Dr. Carr, I'm just trying to think of the whole lineup from morning to evening. And it closes out with Al Sharpton. So is that considered Black media?
I consider that Black media. I do.
So, you know, I'm going to allow Penda to stretch it a bit. So it's media, it's not press. So it's a media.
Because you're drawing a very specific distinction in terms of media and press. And Zai, check your phone.
So I wouldn't consider National Action Network a media organization or press.
No.
Okay.
A news adjacent organization.
Okay.
But they're not press. They're not seriously. WBAI does.
I was going to say WBAI as well. Yes.
WBAI does the news. Does the sort of talk show analysis pieces, and they do news. So they have a combination, a hybrid organization. So absolutely, they do press. They're a media organization. So hi JP, nice to see you. So yeah, no, I wouldn't. They're part of a media conglomerate. You see it on the shift that's happened in legacy in MSNBC and CNN in response to what's happened to 60 Minutes and CBS and you know what's come down from the executive office. They're more of a talk show approach than straight news. That's changed dramatically. So PBS and PBS hasn't changed. But they've changed radically, and it's addressing what we're talking about. We're seeing a decrease in civic participation and trust. And I think CNN and MSNBC have decided that they're going to wage a war for the Democratic Party because they see that's the way to win the war on disinformation and misinformation, also on the road and the trajectory on. But what Penda and I are trying to do is press. We're trying to do journalism. It's hard work. It's laborious work. And Penda, I guess, can talk to the.
Well, I know that we scheduled this for half an hour, and we do have our next guest on. But we are going to make this an ongoing conversation, and I think this is a good first part of this conversation. As I said before, I think one of our goals is to definitely have conversations with Black press and Black media outlets because we think that is an important thing to do. So thank you both for coming on, and hopefully we'll have you back on within the next few weeks as we do this continuing series on the Black press and different voices and how we can get what you do into the hands of more people, right? So it's because I think that the Black press is a resource for our community, has always been a resource for our community, and we want to make sure that it can continue to be a resource for what we do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate it. And if I just may really quickly, one way we can get the information, news and information that we produce in your hands is to visit our websites and sign up for our newsletters. Visit New Jersey Urban News. That's the name of our website. njurbannews.com. And you can sign up for our weekly newsletters and you can see firsthand the work that we're producing daily.
I'll put it in the chat. I want to
All right,
also
thank
say
you.
that urban news is filling a vacuum that we identified in this conversation with the departure of what was city news some years ago. So, Penda, we want to welcome you on that level because you're shooting in a gap that needed to be filled. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Grace and
Thank
peace,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. All right. So now, Zaid, you can introduce us to this next section, and the next section for our program. By the way, we are going to be shouting out New Jersey Urban News, and in the next few minutes, we're gonna, as we're continuing in this conversation, we are going to be showing you the website, and so you can see some of the stories that are there.
Yeah, I put the link for it in the chat, and I have to just bear witness that I have been personally deflated by that news of the passing of Tony Brown. Tony Brown was one of the last of a generation of Black journalists that literally came through the Black liberation movement at a critical turning point to create, media space, in corporate media space. It was a profound concession that gave us Tony Brown's Journal, that gave us Black News that later became the McCrary Report, that gave us Gil Noble's Like It Is, right? And if there's only one brother that I know that's left that came later, and he came on the print side, and his name is Kilamo Sulam, who gave us the Black Collegian, right? So Tony Brown's passing means something. So I just wanted to put a pin in that as we come now to this next segment. We all know we have an ongoing discussion here on All Politics Are Local about what's happening at Delaney Hall and what it means for this incredible, challenging historical moment. J.P. Sloan of Community Movement Builders and the Black Alliance for Peace has been there. A bunch of us have been there back and forth. But tomorrow, they're hosting a forum that's going to help our local community come to terms with just what the hell is going on and why it's important to our community to pay attention to Delaney Hall. Right? Why is the immigrant question important to Delaney Hall? That Supreme Court decision that just dropped should make it very plain for us if it hasn't already, but for some it may not be so plain. But so I want this young man to come in and come on back, because that's not his first time with us. Welcome back to All Politics Are Local, son, and tell us about what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me back. And yeah, tomorrow at 2:00 at Express Newark in the Hain building on the 4th floor. It's a bit of a maze to find, but yeah, we'll be on the 4th floor, room 408. We're hosting a community forum to talk about we're posing the question, is Delaney Black Newarkers fight? And so it raises the immigrant question directly, but also it raises the question about we're raising the question of what does it mean to fight for something as Black Newarkers. And one of the things that we've been seeing online and having conversations with folks around town is that this is maybe not our fight, that this is more the fight for Latin American communities that live in Newark, that maybe we should prioritize things, for instance, like Essex County Correctional Facility, which people raise, like, why has there been no national attention or no broad media attention to given to some of the conditions at Essex County. Some people are talking about this as, we've got housing, there's a housing crisis in Newark. Some folks bring up education. And so it's really, this question of why would Black Newarkers join this fight when that's not really our issue? And so we want to just raise that directly and talk it out. We think it's important we do have a position, and we've been very vocal about Delaney Hall for the better part of a year before before there was a lot of media attention given to it.
Right.
But we think that it's really important to hear what folks think, honestly, and their raw opinions about, because that's the only way that we can work through these questions and work towards collective liberation.
So here's the question. Like, you pose the questions that people should ask, right? Like, as in, people think that this isn't, like many Black people think that what's going on in Delaney Hall isn't for us, isn't our concern, but should be concerned about prisons in general, right? Like, and the way in which people are treated, because all those things are true. When people are talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening at Delaney Hall, I'm like, well, that actually happens at most prisons, right? Like, that isn't uncommon in terms of conditions that people go through. Which I think many of them are correct in saying that. Why is that? Why should, in spite of that, Delaney Hall is a major concern?
Yeah. I think, well, first of all, so I'll talk about this from two different angles, and, especially for the question that we've posed. And I'll put on my two different hats, one CMB, one Black Alliance for Peace. So from a CMB perspective.
And what is CMB again?
Community movement builders. Yeah. And this also, there's overlap with community movement builders and BAT, but I'll say that specifically with community movement builders, one of the things that we've raised is that Delaney Hall is in Newark, and it is a privately run facility that has signed over $1 billion contract with the federal government, with DHS, to detain immigrants, to quote unquote, fulfill Trump's vision for, immigrant detention.
Wider America.
Yeah, right. And, and so
make America white again.
Exactly. But at a $1 billion bill over 15 years, that's happening in Newark. $1 billion is coming to Newark, and Newarkers have
Newark ain't getting a dime of it.
No, not a dime of it. No say as to what happens with it.
They are hiring us, right? They are hiring us to, cage our brothers.
Sure. Those few pennies will grant that, concede that, I guess.
Not even a few pennies, man. They're talking about $50,000 signing bonuses. They are paying people money for imprisoning our brother. That's part of, that is the thing.
And there's forgiveness of some debt too, right? There are incentives as well. But JP, have y'all at Rutgers? They have the formerly returning citizens, those that were formerly incarcerated. Have they been at a part of this discussion?
That is a great question, and we have made a point to reach out to returning citizens. We've done some work with returning citizens. We did some work with returning citizens last year. We have not made that connection yet, but that's definitely a priority on our list to make that connection.
And in light of the Supreme Court decision, unless somebody opens their mouth, when they walk up to you, I don't necessarily know that if somebody just looking at us can tell if we're Haitian or African American, so
like JP, you look Haitian to me, and you can definitely go look Haitian to some white person. Matter of fact,
you too, Haqq.
Right?
I was born a boy came on. Come for me.
All y'all look Haitian.
Listen,
I look Haitian too.
My wife is Dominican. If I didn't open my mouth, you might think I was Dominican.
That's right.
Even after I open my mouth, you might think I'm Dominican.
And listen, and if people aren't paying attention, they may think DR and Haiti are two different islands, right? They might not even understand, all of what's going on. So, if you live close to that area, it's a fine line, really a fine line, you know.
You've got $1 billion, and I think what you're trying to say, JP, is that they got $1 billion, and with the Kavanaugh rule, they don't have to prove that you are, quote, Haitian. You just need to look Haitian, and they can stop you, detain you, they can threaten you, they can even imprison you until you prove that you are not, right? You have to prove that you are not. There are people who have been beaten, detained, who have been kept in jail for hours, right? Days even, and had to prove that they were not undocumented. And, you know, like in terms of interactions with police, all of those interactions, now you have one of the most lawless interactions of police that are able to act in lawless ways against you. If they treat our congresswomen the way they treat our congresswomen, what makes you think that we will be safer? If they detain our mayor or try to imprison our congresswomen who are not Haitian, who are not immigrants, what do you think they will do for you? Do you think you are safe because of their? If so, then you do not get the white nationalist agenda that is pushing this literal whitening, cleansing of America that is taking place before us right now.
And you know, also as our children grow up and they begin to ask questions, you know, one would have to think at the point of our Supreme Court Justice, Amy Comer, what are her children, her adopted Haitian children, going to look at her? And what questions will they have for her when they look at how she voted and realize that for her to possibly adopt them, that they may have still family back in Haiti that is dismissed, you know? So it's
and let's be real, she put her kids in danger. She put her grandkids in danger. You just said she adopted their adopted grandkids?
Her adopted children are from Haiti.
Her adopted, well, they look a certain way, they can be stopped, they can be detained. That is the Kavanaugh rule. I mean, she should thank her personally on the Supreme Court for that. Haqq, you wanted to say something.
Well, yeah. Well, let me first say, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Okay. If they'll do it to them, they'll do it to you. In fact, if they'll do it to them, plan on them doing it to you. We never want to give reason for law enforcement to have more resources to oppress us. So when you say $1 billion to ICE,
more resources, less roles.
Right. So it's like, you know, as Black Americans, quote unquote, like we always want to, and we can do more than 1, 2, 3 things. We need to fight this war on different fronts. And it takes addressing all of the issues that face our people, and one of which is the over-policing of our communities. We don't want to give law enforcement the ability and the power to roll up on anybody, because that anybody could be us.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too that you know, another from the BAP side of this, you know, when John Wilson Brutus on December 12th last year he was detained in Delaney Hall on December 11th, and December 12th, not even 24 hours later, wound up dead. Still no information has been released as to what happened.
Not a thing.
Some people, there was a nurse that said he fell downstairs, and that's the extent of it. And so, and you
fell down the stairs.
Right. And so, you know, and for the Black Lives for Peace, like we made the connection to say, you know, that it's not just about you know, Haitians being unsafe here. What has made it to where Haitians have come to seek asylum here? And we think that, and we say that so much imperialist meddling in Haiti, US, Canada, France, has created a situation over the past couple of decades. You know, you can't remove a democratically elected president and not have any sort of consequences for the people that democratically elected that president. And we've seen that unfold over the decades. to now we have the situation that we have now, which is really rough in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince specifically, because of this meddling. And so
there's a really good book called White World Order, Black Power Politics, The Birth of American International Relations. It's by Robert Vitalis. And part of the theme of that work is that the United States, that our creation of foreign policy in the United States, it sought to do to the rest of the world what white people did in the South. So the way in which they treated Black people in the South, that was the way they envisioned trying to treat everyone in the world from that same lens. And JP, you were saying?
Yeah, and so for us, we've been very clear that there's been a lot of talk about the conditions at Delaney, but we think it's important to say that the first death that we've seen since Delaney reopened was a Black man. Was a Haitian man. And that for us has been the starting point for the conversation. Why are we out there? Because the first person that died at Delaney Hall was a Black man. And and we think it's important that you were speaking earlier about prisons, and and there's been talk that we've heard about the conditions at Delaney not being as bad as other prisons, but for us, a prison is a prison. If there was shuffleboard on one of the slave ships, that doesn't make it any. It's still a slave ship. It's still a place that is meant for destruction of people, of our people. There, I've seen letters from inside, from Nigerians, Nigerian folks who are Christian folks, and Christian like the Black man who's on the board of directors at Geo Group, Jack Brewer, who is very connected with the Trump administration, made nearly $400,000 last year in compensation from Geo Group. And so when we're talking about, being, connected to our people, quote unquote, Jack Brewer is not my people. That's a skin folk kind of
Negro of the highest order.
And so it's like, but for those who are suffering oppression from a system that continues to decimate our people, that ravages the world and ravages other peoples of the world, we say no. And we have to, but we do want to open it up to have a conversation to say, what is it about Delaney Hall that that makes folks think that it is not our fight, and we accept, and we want to hear people's answers, and we want to hear them honestly.
There's an
and
article,
and JP, your post. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say there's an article in Time Magazine. It is called "The True History of America's Private Prison Industry." It's by Shane Bauer. It's from a book. It's an excerpt from a book that he wrote, but I recommend everyone really read it, because the origin of private prisons started in the South, and they blew up after slavery very deliberately, right? So private prisons began because they needed people to work in the plantations and fields. So one of the things they would do is they would capture people, put them in these private prisons, and they would lease out the workers, right? So the birth of the private prison industry started as ways to gather Black labor for profit. These started in both private prisons. These also started in public prisons, in terms of prisons leasing out their labor, right? And making it profitable for the publicly run prisons as well to lend out their labor. So there's this really good article, I'll post it. And they talk about the forerunners to the current places that like Core Civic, right? And mention some of the places that are the owners of Delaney Hall quite specifically within the article, and in terms of the entire history of America's prisons and the ways in which prisons have been used to profit off of Black labor.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know we're getting ready to come to an end. And JP, is this a question that is, are you listening to what's going on in the community, and you just want to put, okay.
Yeah, we're listening to it. We will give our position on it during the toward the end of the conversation. But we do really want to hear what people have to say, and we're not just saying that it's not a gotcha. Like we want to hear, and we want to take seriously what folks where folks are coming from. So yeah,
because I do think that there is a legitimate point, and part of this is like I get where the criticism is coming from, because I think the core of the criticism is legitimate, and the core of the criticism is there is a perception that what's going on in Delaney Hall is a new problem, because there's a perception that the victims of Delaney Hall are undeserving of the treatment because they are immigrants, and immigrants don't deserve to be treated like that. But the juxtaposition is, but those do, right? Like, so there's never, so I do think it is valuable to acknowledge the criticism and to challenge the people who are protesting at Delaney Hall, many of whom do not look like us, who would not support prison abolition, who would not support certain, like, a reconsideration of what American prisons actually look like, how dehumanizing they are, how there is sexual violence, and the lack of educational or actual rehabilitation opportunities that are involved in there, that they often are filthy, that they're often full of disease, that they're often dangerous places that not only don't reform, but they break people, they make them worse, they make them more dangerous to our communities when they come back, they suffer from PTSD. Like, I think that when people are seeing people protesting and going hard for people in Delaney Hall, they're thinking, why is this not the same passion for people, for this disproportionately Black population that are in prisons? And part of the thing that I think that has to be dealt with in the movement is that anti-Blackness is everywhere. And we saw it even in certain protests at Delaney Hall when they were attacking the minister, who is a councilwoman, who literally believed the exact same thing as the protesters, but these white protesters were talking to her in dehumanizing ways publicly, and you're like, wait, I think you need to check your own issues of bias and anti-Blackness before you come into a Black community. And I think that those things are absolutely legitimate, and I think they need to be acknowledged. And I think that it's not just a matter of like, oh, this is a problem. There is a need for real solidarity for the problems in our community, because Black people have no problem fighting for people in Delaney Hall, as evidenced by our elected officials. Newark is a sanctuary city. Our Congresswoman's facing 17 years, right? Like, our Black leadership has always been down with, no, the ways in which they treat immigrants is wrong. So much so that people don't know that after the 1964 Civil Rights Act and after the 1965 Voting Rights Act, what is the first thing we did, immigrants, right? Because we were like, the immigration policy is so racist, it excludes people from Africa, it excludes people from Latin America, it excludes people from South America, right? So Black people, part of our civil rights movement was to include more immigrants, right? And in terms of the reform. So when we see massive upticks in immigration from Central America, from Asia, from Africa, all of that is a result of what Black people fought for in 1965. And so when we're looking at this way that we're looking at immigration right now, I think that a lot of people just don't know that. I think a lot of people don't really respect that. I think that often when Black people are looking at quote coalitions with people with immigrants, we're like, Trump's biggest supporters were first generation immigrants, as in people who were first generation got their citizenship, they were voting anti-Black. And I think if we don't deal with that, and we don't put that up front, and we don't deal with the way anti-Blackness functions through communities, then we're not doing anything. We need to make sure that solidarity is real solidarity, and they need to check that anti-Blackness. The white people need to check their anti-Blackness, right? Other immigrant groups need to check that anti-Blackness within their own communities, because they shouldn't just come, oh, civil rights, when the Trump administration is coming full on white supremacy. That should be a part of who they are. That should be a part of their experience too, and their politics. It shouldn't just happen when they are in trouble. And I think that may be part of the resentment that you were seeing, right? And I think it has to be dealt with openly, because I think that we have a lot of Black people who are like, hey, coalitions, they're only one-sided. We'll be a coalition here. And then when freedom happens for them, they will ignore prison populations here. They will ignore civil rights here. And I think if that is not a part of the conversation in which the way anti-Blackness flows, like anti-Blackness isn't just for white people. There is multicultural, multilingual anti-Blackness. Ask, right, Dominicans population with Haitians, right? There is multicultural anti-Blackness that is right. And if there's going to be true coalition, then all of us need to really deal with that white supremacy first and foremost.
Yeah, and perhaps go ahead, JP.
I'll say just a couple things. One, I think that for my end, I think that it is important to challenge the folks who are on the ground, and I specifically have been challenging folks on the ground to consider to understand how this issue affects Black people directly. But for my end, I think that and this is a personal view, I think it's important to challenge our folks, and I'm not saying that this is not what that you wouldn't agree with this, but I think it's important to challenge our folks, because there's a Vincent Harding quote that always sits with me, and it's that that this people has not come through all this pain to share equal opportunity with the pain inflictors. And we need to be challenged in that regard, because we're given opportunities. We're given opportunities to share an equal opportunity with the pain inflictors, and using the fact that we've come through all this way to arrive at this place. And we're going to have to be more vigilant and militant against the fascism that is consolidating to fight it. And another thing that I would say is, I understand the point about anti-Blackness within the movement, but there's nothing more anti-Blackness than a corporation and the squeeze of capitalism to come to a city that is mostly Black, put $1 billion through it, and not in any way, shape, or form acknowledge the will of the people. There's nothing more anti-Black than that. And I understand that there's anti-Blackness within people's feelings and people shouting at other people, but
it's not just in terms of feelings. It is structural, right? And if that's not acknowledged,
but nothing.
If you don't acknowledge that, it's going to fail.
But there's no comparison. There's no comparison to the ferocity of anti-Blackness that is structural, that comes through the capitalist order. And I understand that people have the structures of feeling and all this stuff. Like, I get that.
It's not feeling. Race is a part of structure.
Yeah, and
I understand.
And JP, what I will say is that we have to, because everybody will come to your town, and particularly an urban town, and not feel as though they have to sit down with the people. And part of it as legislators is like you see, like communities like New York, nothing happens without going to the community, because they didn't just say it has to happen, they legislated it to happen. So you have to go through the community to do anything in New York when you're building and things like that. So you're absolutely right. But the fact that, as a former councilwoman, I remember trying to do legislation. If you want to name a building in orange, you need to talk to the legislators. And my colleagues did not think it was something that we should talk about. You just don't know what people may come, and all of a sudden you see a building name, So, but what I will say is that how deep racism is when so many people are taught that you don't want to be like Black people, but yet all of the benefits that they get are from the struggles of Black people, and they not want to, they will say, like, looking plain in our face, Project 2025 studied us and using us against us. But we have to.
It was a direct reaction to the 1965 immigration reform, where in civil rights, we were like, we're going to brown America.
Can I just add on what you just said, Donna?
Yes.
People need not get it twisted. Every community that comes in America uses the Black community as their launch pad.
Yes, that's right.
Power comes through us. Mm-hmm. Influence comes through us.
Our
work and struggle, we leverage all of the freedoms that everybody has, including white women.
Word.
So us being respected as those who put in the work. When we're talking about, just the prison industrial complex, and I know Baba Zaid, we know plenty of organizations that have been a part of that fight for 30, 40, 50 years. So to say that, these voices don't exist is all about Delaney Hall and immigration. Well, that's just not true. These things are happening, have been happening for a long time. JT mentioned stop and frisk. That's a great example of the work that primarily Black organizations and others, but primarily African-American organizations, have been fighting that fight for a long time. And there's a lot of lessons that had been learned that we could share and empower in the other movement. But I think
what I want to say is that we have to continue this conversation, JP, on how, because even looking at the recent New York election and how they're building momentum off of those young people who was, look at the rent free, those are young people. And I'm saying you have to put it, we have to stop just having conversations and make it a part of the process, that they just we can't be an afterthought anymore. It can't happen.
Absolutely.
And I hope that's what come out of your conversation, that when those voices come to, when you're listening to, and you begin to, and that's why I asked if you had like returning citizens, because they are a voting bloc now. They lobby for themselves to be able to have the privilege to be jurors and voters now. And so they, more than a lot of people, that they can use that to leverage it and legislate how some of these things are going on. And I'll just say, if you look at any movie about prisons and everything, they show prisons from like from 1,000 years, and they're not even ashamed of it. Not that they just don't put anything infrastructurally, and they'll put people in those places knowing that they're just horrible by all means.
Right.
By all means.
I know that we're nearing the end of our time. But can you tell us because you were talking about it, you have a specific program, there's a specific open house or conversation. When is it taking place? Where is it taking place? Give us that information.
Yes, it's going to be at 2:00 at Express Newark in the Hain building, 54 Halsey Street, I think is the technical thing if you put in your GPS. Mm-hmm. And it's room 408. So it'll be on the fourth floor. We'll get started. Be there at 2, and we'll talk it out for sure.
All right, thank you. And Hakeem Green, Newark's ambassador of hip hop, is here. Welcome back. And I know that you might have some announcements as well. Talk to us.
24 Hours of Peace, August 28th, August 29th. We're over on Chancellor Avenue in the South Ward. We got an incredible lineup. We're gonna start promoting first week of July, but I guess I'll share with my All Politics of Local family. Looking at MC Light, DMC, Freeway, and Memphis Bleak, Brand Nubian, Brother J. We got Ron G and DJ Duop doing a special mixtape tribute. And I think that's as far as I want to go right now. I want to give away Saturday's lineup until everything's locked in. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But
wow, that's just Friday's lineup.
I was about to say that's just Friday.
Did I say DMC from Run DMC? Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good.
DMC in the place to be.
That's just Friday's lineup.
That's just Friday's lineup. So you already know Saturday's gonna be crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, 24 hours of peace, love, unity, safety, having fun. You know how we do right there in Newark, New Jersey. We moving it around this year. We're coming back to the South Ward, but it's gonna be on Chancellor Avenue. We need to share this love with our folks over that way in the Weekway section.
Okay, so it's going to be on Chancellor Avenue this year. What part of Chancellor Avenue?
Chancellor Aldine. I don't know what the industry. We got to get the footprint locked down, but I'm sure we'll probably be all the way down to Bergen, but don't quote me.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, get the mash. That's not too far from their Wainwright, where the mash shit is over there, right? Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
they were their community mash shit, so they would love to be a part of that.
Absolutely, yeah, yep. So yeah, it's gonna be right and exact like it always is.
Well, we have reached the end. We are past the end.
Do I get my question? Can I ask that question?
Yeah, ask the question.
JP.
Because I couldn't answer.
Y'all ain't been asking.
What's your superhero theme music when you're doing what you do when you're in the community organizing? What you got bumping that gives you that battery in your backpack? Superhero theme music.
Superhero theme music. Oh wow, what a great question.
You've been here before. You know how we did, how they do.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever comes to your mind. This is, that's your drum.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love Glorilla. I love Glorilla. There's something about there's something very that resonates with me. I don't know.
Woman empowerment. I'm with that.
Yeah, but there's something about the way she does it that really hits me.
Okay. Glorilla. Big shout out to Glorilla.
All right, and thank you all our guests. Thank disciples, Reverend at-large Councilwoman, Newark at-large Councilwoman, Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree, and Minister Haqq Muhammad. Thank you for coming on today. Jalil
Muntiqim. Wow.
Muntiqim for the July 4th National Mobilization Against Genocide. We have to get him back so we can have a whole hour-long conversation with him about his life and a lot of other things that he's working on.
Yeah.
Big thanks to artist and academic Noelle Lorraine Williams on her exhibit, The 19th Century Black Revolutionary Woman. We want to get you back on as well. We do think that we have said, and I say this a lot, you are a treasure to our city with what you do as a historian and as an artist. And also, thank you, Josie Gonsalves, Public Square Amplified, and Penda Howell of New Jersey Urban News, because you are joining the first of many conversations we're going to have about the Black press. We're going to have a series of Black press roundtables on All Politics Are Local, and we appreciate you helping us get that started. And also, JP Sloan, thanks for coming on to talk about the community forum that is tomorrow. So that is, we are at the end of our program. Thank you to all our guests.
And Jonathan, before as we close out Music History Month, I just want to give a shout out to our homegirl SZA on being inducted in the New Jersey Hall of Fame, among other people. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, on that note, Monday.
Go Jersey. Go Jersey.
On that note, Monday, all roads lead to Philly. Press conference for Mumia Abu Jamal and the crisis around his health, and a 24-hour vigil at the Octavius Cato statue at City Hall, all starting at 12 noon Monday.
Free Mumia. Free Mumia.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Right. And also special prayer for the family of Tony Brown and all that he has contributed to us over the years. We're giving a thank you and our prayers as he joins our ancestors. Until next week.
We'll see you in the whirlwind and you don't stop.